Let's go with, let me look at my revised extension service. Susan. Good afternoon. Susan, the pertinent question is, did you follow budget guidelines?
Well, I've seen a couple of people talking about this, but closely. How's that?
Closely, almost.
Almost. In our operating, what we're requesting, everything follows the guidelines, except we did ask for $2,000 increase.
2,000 for what?
$2,000.
For what?
In the line item, under professional services, which that is security, that we pay for when we have events at the fairgrounds, and the contractual services for, thank you, Perry, for the contractual services for the 3 educators. And we're just trying to make that somewhat close to an actual. And the more that we rent, the more that we utilize the fairgrounds. And so that everything else under operations did stay the same, but it's $2,000.
That's pretty close.
So, and I do have, so the total that we were asking under operation is $142,737. So it is an increase of $2,000. Also, with the salaries, did ask for the appropriate allotted amounts. They have evaluations in, and that's all based upon job performance. So thank you for those guidelines, and everybody on the staff appreciates that very much. In the letter that I sent as a cover letter, we did request, last year we did request an additional position. And under the discussion of the board and with our board and so forth, last year you granted a part-time. And so instead of asking for a full-time, we requested another part-time position. Again, this is just hoping that, as we're trying to increase and do more and more there as far as programming. The problem is, and I will take, full responsibility that we did ask for that request when we made that transfer. You do not see that on your actual budget sheet. And so, Dawn sent those out, and I talked with her after the fair. I did open it, but that I should have more closely seen that. And so, we did request that, and that would have been, so the bottom line of salaries would be an additional $22,500, if there's a way to do that.
So
It was an oversight.
in lieu of the 16,426 is 22.
Well, there is a 16,24,6, no.
In
Yes.
addition. So we're talking 38 change.
No, the change would only be 24 and a half, right? If you look at the 2,000 she's asking for plus the 22 and a half on the part-time position.
So we have a part-time position, and we would like another part-time position. So we just based that on like $15 an hour at 29 hours,
Okay.
which figures out at 22,000. I believe the 16,000, like Don said, that's in addition to, because that's all the salary increases. Is that correct for the entire staff?
Susan, my question is, we always had to lease computers from Purdue?
Yes. And when we do that, I mean, the IT department often has asked us how they can get on that same program. It is actually it is a really good deal, and it includes all the IT support for those computers. So it's what we get for the price that they pay is a very good service.
You mean our IT department wants to know how to get on that? Really?
Back to the days of BJ. She would always say, how do we get this? So, but you're looking at a university, and you're looking at, the university in 92 counties and the university in Fort Wayne, and so it's a
Buying
lot
power.
of computers.
Buying power, yeah.
So, I mean, all the computers in your office are Purdue's?
We have the one county, so we can do payroll. So we have one setup that, so we're able to do the connection with payroll.
So I mean, just one workstation,
Right.
paying $7,000 a year for.
No, we have one that's a
county.
county, and all the rest of them are Purdue.
Yeah, one county computer, and that includes that. The Purdue computers, we would have probably at least 20, and then printers.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
that would include laptops and then things like the 4-H programs that use with some of that, and so, no, I'm sorry, that didn't, yeah, one computer at 7,000 is kind of
Now,
expensive.
if I heard it correctly, and they're all on Purdue's network, not on our network,
Right,
so,
that is true.
okay. So from a security standpoint, is there any kind of link between the county system and what you're doing, or just that one computer?
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay,
I mean,
when we're talking about like internet security and things like that, the ones that you're utilizing are not connected to the county system except for that one computer. So that one computer, Chris and his team are managing from a security standpoint?
Right.
Okay.
Anybody else have questions for Susan? Thank you, Susan.
Thank you all very much, and we will be back to visit here this fall later, so things that are not on operational, so appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Who's the next victim, the next person on our, sheriff
We
sitting
still
in
have Mills are raking. We let her off
yeah.
This is unusual.
That's right. You haven't got any hand signals yet, have you?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Stir the pot. Or none of these.
Sheriff, are you ready to present? I know, I see you brought your brains with you, so we're ready to go.
Remind you that this budget was prepared during my honeymoon period, so
Okay, thank you.
we'll start with that.
Thank you for that reminder. You're still on your honeymoon, is that what you're trying
At
to
least
tell?
when it was prepared. I think
Okay.
I passed that 6-month point, so you guys can let me have it
Well,
now.
let me ask you the pertinent question, Sheriff. Did you follow budget guidelines?
So there are a couple of things outside of budget
Couple of
guidelines
things.
here.
Has the last 6 office holders give us that sort of,
Well,
maybe,
sort of, yeah.
close to? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so prepared a letter for you guys explaining those outside the guidelines. I think there are a few things that account for the majority of it. The first is the increase in medical expenses for the jail staff, adding additional LPN hours. Also, another full-time mental health professional back in the jail, and that accounts for a significant portion of this. The second thing is we're due to replace laptops in our patrol vehicles, which accounts for about $500,000 of this. I've spoken with Councilman McKinney about the best way to handle this, and just kind of want to talk about what we should do moving forward with that, so it's not a big increase every 5 years, having a large amount, whether or not we put that in a non-reverting fund or what that looks like. So we have the $500,000 built into this to replace all of those, and then also another $100,000 to move to a fund, so that we don't have a big budget hit every 5 years. That's $600,000
Of a
of
$1.4 million difference overall. But some of this is probably just with stuff.
some of that is personnel, but
Yeah.
there's about 830,000 of additional, and 600,000 of it is laptop computers, essentially, yes. And the rest of it is medical expenses. Those are really the two major things.
Back the rest out for just whatever.
Correct. That's exactly correct. Yep. There is a couple of additionals here asking for an additional corrections officer. The right word here, help me out, Rob. Reclassified. We reclassified a corrections officer position to an admin position. We had somebody that was working part-time in that admin role, and so we're asking to fill that corrections officer position if we can. And then the other thing is asking for 2 additional reclassifications from correction officer to sergeant. So the idea is with the new pod, we'd have a sergeant staffing the new pod at any given time.
So in this budget, how many new full-time?
1 new full-time position. It's a new corrections officer position.
Okay.
On the laptops, I don't have a problem if we continue it as we talked about for
Okay.
next year. But I think possibly we could be saved by the proposed PSAP lit has been talked about. If that's implemented countywide, then I've seen comments by mayors and other people that it could take care of in-car computers. So
Want to delay that decision for a year?
not necessarily. I mean, I thought we were going to do it this year. This says, is this the
This would be-
proposal for next
No.
year?
Yeah, we would be replacing them in
Yeah,
2020.
you're buying new ones next year, right?
Correct.
But what I said, do you want to delay the decision on a non-reverting or a sinking fund?
Yeah, I would do that. Yeah.
You understand what we're saying here?
Yeah,
Until we see what happens.
and that's completely fine.
Okay.
You're fine with that equipment for another year.
Well, we would like to replace it in 2020, so we would start,
He's got it
that
in the
bid process.
2020 budget.
But you're not saying to hold off on that part?
No, I'm saying holding off on the decision on the sinking fund. He,
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And then I have one more thing to talk about here. We have $75,000 built in this for the Stanley Security Agreement, and I'm not sure if that's going to be continue in our budget, if that's going to move to the commissioner's budget or the maintenance budget. I spoke with Dan a couple months ago. I think there's some quotes out there on what the new contract is going to be. I spoke with Steve Wood earlier, and he believes that this $75,000 plus whatever Ralph has in his budget would account for the cost of that new contract. But whether or not that ends up in my budget or somewhere else, I don't know that, if that makes sense.
The money that they have budgeted for 2020, community corrections and the sheriff, will need to use that to get through the warranty period of the equipment that's not on warranty, which ends in June of next year. June of next year, the new contract that combines everything under one lump sum, that will either be buildings and grounds or commissioner's budget, one or the other.
all right, so just leave it alone for now?
Just leave it alone for now.
And Sheriff, you mentioned about the pension deposit also for the pension. It's usually been included that 1 or 2 letter from McCreary and Keene. And I've always had a concern that it's usually dated in January and then we don't see it until August because they calculate that number back then. Is that the same thing it was with you? Did they do the same thing?
Yes, that has been calculated again. That's the number that's built into this budget.
But 7 months ago, right? January is when they gave it to you?
Correct. Yep. If you guys would like to see that, as soon as I get it, I'd be happy to
If you can just include
present
it
it to
in the
council.
future,
Yeah, absolutely. That's not a problem at all.
Anybody else for the sheriff?
Nah.
Sheriff? Now, in the future, we'll want you to come and spend several hours with us during budget hearing, okay?
Yes, sir.
Just because we feel better when you're here, and if you don't, we cut your budget.
Okay.
right.
I like that.
Armed.
You can kind of fit it in whenever you can,
Okay.
okay?
Sounds great.
Sidearm must be with you.
I will, some of our staff's down at the sheriff's conference in Evansville. I'm headed that way, so
Okay. We'll just keep it in mind for next year.
Kai will be here for you guys tomorrow night.
Okay,
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
You guys are rough.
Huh?
Hey,
We haven't
Dennis,
hazed him.
Dennis,
No.
the meeting's tomorrow at 5. Okay, we just want to make sure you said tomorrow night, so
If you show up at 7, it'll be over.
it'll be over.
I hope so.
I hope.
Okay, that was the sheriff. Who else is out there? I see him. But solid waste showed up before Kent did, so we'll go with solid waste.
They did?
Yep,
Where are they at?
they're right there.
Oh, okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How is everyone?
Very good.
We're still here.
So my proposed 2020 budget is within the guidelines.
That's the answer we're looking for. That is the answer we're looking for.
I'm actually a little bit asking just a few thousand less than what we asked for 2019.
Have you got your fork truck yet?
No, it's being held up by the DLGF. Don might know more about that than I do.
Did you say it was held up because of tariffs?
No. What is it?
To buy a fork truck?
They're busy with budget, so she hasn't had time to get the additionals to approve it.
The other one's still running?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody got any questions? Thank you for your attendance
Okay,
today.
thank you. Thank everyone for your service. Thank you.
Hey, Brad,
Yes, sir.
how come that? What's a cell phone reimbursement for county?
The county will reimburse you half of your cell phone bill
Per year?
per month. I turn my bills in every month.
Paying for myself.
I'm with you, Amy.
Okay,
Me too.
Mr. Surveyor, Kent Ward.
Where the cuts start right here.
Yeah,
There you go.
Good afternoon.
good afternoon.
And I think my honeymoon period's over, and no, I did not follow instructions.
Those are not the answers we're looking for, Mr.
We
Ward.
appreciate the honesty.
Be honest, have you followed them since I've been on council? Just out of curiosity.
You'd wonder what's going on.
So give us a brief description of what didn't fall under county guidelines.
Okay, I don't know if this would qualify. I am asking for two new employees. However, you did say that we could do it, so I don't know if that
Yeah,
falls in
no,
or out.
that's not outside. You were allowed to ask for them.
Okay.
What about the non-personnel budget?
Okay. Under other services and charges, I am asking for an additional $1,287. That's for a bump in Mr. Howard's pay.
We heard that once, haven't we? Oh, is that for the drainage board?
This is for Drainage Board. Remember, Drainage Board merged with my budget. And also have a extra $95,000 that the board asked me to put in there for general drain improvement. So those are the,
$95,000?
that's my budget. Did you want to talk about Cornerstone also?
What's the per diem for Drainage Board?
I don't know if Robin can make these numbers smaller or not. 226. Says, I think, 226, Robin. Is that right?
That's my foot.
Okay.
On the bottom of the,
I already know.
okay.
That's the way I think.
Okay.
But you can't.
No, I know the answer. I just didn't know if anybody else cared.
What?
No, Kent and I had just talked about, and I know he's probably reached out to all of you anyways, just in the event that there was, a question of whether it's 2 or 1 or however that looks, if he had a preference over which position he valued or saw as being more beneficial for where he is in the current state. I just always think it's valuable to know, but if everybody knows the answer, then I won't.
Okay, anybody, is that all the,
Did you want to talk about Cornerstone also?
sure, do you got,
Okay. I do have a increase in that of $32,100. That's to replace a instrument that we purchased back in 1989. We can no longer get it fixed. They don't make the parts for it, and when it goes out again, it's then a paperweight.
What is it?
It's one of the total stations. They just don't make the parts anymore.
You got the money to pay for that now?
Yes.
Okay, anybody got anything else for the surveyor?
I have just a question. We were talking at lunch. When cities are improving in areas that are county-regulated drains, what happens to the maintenance long-term for those areas? Does sometimes the city take that on, or is that always going to be something that falls within you?
It's always going to be a regulated drain.
So when we have
have
gaps
14
on the map, when there's
sorry.
gaps on the map, is that, like when it gets piped? What happens there?
It depends on which city and town. Carmel, everything east of 31, they have started a long time ago taking responsibility for. That's new. Westfield is starting to take responsibility for everything that they're now building as new. That all that still goes into a regulated drain, so we still review that. But if it's an existing regulated drain through those new annexation areas, it's still a regulated drain.
So you still have a supervisor of oversight,
Right.
but they're doing maintenance and they're doing construction.
We have maintenance funds for those.
Okay.
But does the money go to them, or do you keep it?
We keep it.
So if they take it over, how does the money handle?
They may take over a new section of storm improvements in a new subdivision, but that still goes to a regulated drain. So we still assess those people for that regulated drain that they're emptying into, where their
So like Grand Junction,
subdivision drains terminate.
like the Grand Junction project, that detention basin that has a regulated drain running through the middle of it.
Right, two of them.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. So who manages the maintenance of that?
We do.
You do. But they built it.
They will build it. That's true.
Okay.
Everybody
Clear as
clear?
mud?
Is everybody clear on?
I already knew that one. That
Yeah.
we built it because I was the one who
It's like an
built it.
exercise. Everybody clear on the surveyor's budget? Kent, I have a question, and it now seems the appropriate time to ask you. It doesn't have anything to do with your budget. But I've had discussions with Brenda Myers over the last year or so about the White River Vision Project.
Right.
And she was explaining to me that you were explaining to her that the quarries along White River could be beneficial for flood control.
Right.
How could that possibly be?
The flood mapping is based on the previous topography. So when you dig that hole, you have a gap between the ordinary high water mark and the old ground surface. So that's storage volume.
Same principle as a detention basin.
Yeah, well, since those aren't real, most of them aren't quarries, they're gravel pits. And since gravel pits seek the level of the groundwater comes up to about close to where it was with or without the excavation.
There's still going to be some value for the volume between that ordinary high water mark or that groundwater mark and the original ground surface.
I think if I hear, help me if I can maybe try and inform that, is that what you're suggesting is the normal pool, which is what he's referring to as that the normal elevation, as you have a flood, fluctuates and moves up because it's always going to follow what is the existing elevation for the.
I just found it unusual that, yeah, I could see there'd be a small volume of water depending on the size of the plot, but it has been my experience, since I have one in my front yard, that when the river comes up, about 3 days later, the pond comes up. Not because it got flooded into, because the water table in the area came up because the river's up.
Right.
Now, going down, the river will go down, it'll take a month for the water to go away. But coming up, it's about a 3-day drag.
Well, if you looked at the ponds there on the Featherston property, those are fairly deep because that river is at one level and the ground surface kind of went down to it. So when they dug all that out, it's still being maintained about the same level as the river through the surface groundwater interface.
Right.
And when that floodwater comes in, that's a lot of volume there, Brad, from where that original ground line was.
I mean, if it's doing what you're saying, it is detaining it. It's releasing it, but it's not releasing like normally, like you'd see it like out of a pipe. It's going down through the aquifer.
Just gives it more area to store.
It gives you it gives you hours worth of retention in a flood event.
Probably 24 or so.
Yeah, maybe 24. In a flood event, that's what it, because in a flood event, that's a massive amount of water, and it fills up quick.
Well, it depends on what flood.
Yeah, okay. That was my question.
Anything
Thank you.
else? That's it?
That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, who's in the room? What time is it? I've got 1:30. Trying to get back to our timetable. Let's beat up on the recorder. Jenny, come forward, please. All right. Madam Recorder, did you follow budget guidelines?
Yeah, kinda. You asked.
All right. Tell us where you deviated.
Well, I'm giving you everything back.
Okay.
There was a statute that was on the book, and I think I put a copy in with the budget for you guys to see, that we in the Recorders Association or in the Recorder's Office have the Recorders Perpetuation Fund. Mine has a large balance in it. Basically, the statute says if I have done everything that I think is necessary to maintain the office, everything's up to date, computers are up to date, and there's a sufficient balance, then we can sign a sworn statement telling you that we are willing to, for a year at a time, take on our whatever expenses I guess we think we can afford. I've got $3.9 million in that account. Yeah. All the books have been preserved, our computers are up to date, so I felt like now's the time to go ahead. Now, keep in mind, it's 1 year at a time, we review it. If you guys agree to that, because I took on all the expenses, salaries and everything, then Mr. Jeter has drawn up an ordinance for you guys to sign, and we will take over the payments for all of our budget for 2020.
What would that dollar amount be?
Well, I just happen to have that. The first one? $880,783.
So unlike the offices before you, when I asked you if you were in budget guidelines, you said not really. It's that you want to
Give it back.
relieve us of additional appropriation rather than us
Precisely.
give you more.
Mhm.
Now, see, this is the kind of answer we're looking for.
Yeah.
But let's defer to Robin and Dawn real quick.
It's $574,606 is the amount in county general that she would be putting back to you, because everything else
Yes.
It's already in perpetuation fund.
Mhm.
I
Thank you, Don.
think that we might be agreeable to that,
Okay,
and that we could probably sign that ordinance.
okay.
Give her a county council gold star.
We don't have a
got those
budget for
stickers
gold stars.
Cookie? We got a cookie?
We got a cookie. She's had those cookies before. Okay,
Thank you,
that's great,
Jennifer.
Jenny.
Thank
you.
Is
Thank
there
you.
anything else you want to tell us while you're here? You
Nope,
made
I
the-
don't think so, but thank you.
Made the trip over. Chris, do you have the ordinance already written up?
I do, I sent it to Dawn.
So at some point when we're signing papers, we'll sign it?
Our night's meeting,
yeah.
or formal adoption, okay.
Good?
Okay, thank you, Jenny.
Thank you. Now, keep in mind, that's 1 year at a time.
That's 1 year
I
at a
reserve the
time,
right to
okay.
come back and ask for more money.
Oh, sure,
All right, thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
That's how you defy county guidelines, isn't it? I'm gonna give you your money back. Okay.
Fred's trying to take over here.
No, I'm just telling you. She's here.
Who was
I will be
next in the
happy to,
room?
Because you
Brenda?
told me to. Brenda's been
Okay.
here for a while.
Convention visitors, how about we speak to Brenda Myers? Yeah, party.
Are you coming to give us money back?
Brenda, do you have money to give us back?
No.
No, okay. You don't want to follow the recorder
Brad, I would
anymore,
like to
do you?
say that, I would like to say that we make you money.
Oh, okay, all right.
I would like to point out that I was within the guidelines, okay? Just so
You've already had your turn, young lady. You didn't give us any
That's what
money
I
back. So, okay.
We are looking at a 16% increase in inventory next year, but we're forecasting a 7% increase in revenue. And so we have budgeted accordingly. I have a lovely chart, if you'd like to see it, that shows with all this new hotel inventory online, we're getting a rate suppression, as you might, a lot of, supply and demand. We've been able to keep up with demand, but we're just starting to finally see 40% more hotel rooms in market. Absorption is just becoming a little bit more difficult, although I think by 2021 we'll be fine again. I think one of the things that council asked us last year was to really communicate better and open up more, and I hope that you feel we've done that. We resurrected our Destination 2020 team. We've created a boardable.com portal that allows Rick to go in and look for information anytime he needs it. So,
Rick in particular.
well, I just say that because he's the one who tends
He's
to
the
go.
one who goes in there.
Goes in there and looks around, so, and, but we're still looking at double-digit growth eventually. I just think we're finally, 2,000 more rooms in the market starting to kind of catch up with us, but actually, I think we're doing really well, all things considered. Are there any questions or concerns this year that we could address?
I got anything for Brenda?
No.
Brenda, go ahead, Steve.
I have nothing.
Oh, Brenda, remind me, what is the dollar amount that you're spending on your plan that me and Rick set in on?
Destination development.
Going to, what is it?
Destination development.
Destination, how much is that going to Conner Prairie? Was it 150,000?
No, it's 136,000, but it's not just Conner Prairie, it's all the parks. It's Hamilton County Parks and Carmel Parks and Fishers Parks from 106 to 146 and Conner Prairie. So it's a package deal.
So how much is going to Conner Prairie?
I want to say, it's hard to tell, but somewhere around 90.
Okay. All right, that's all I got. Nobody else got anything?
Other questions?
Thanks, Brenda.
Great, thank you.
Okay. How about we go to Council on Alcohol and Drugs? Monica Greer.
Can I be moved? I can't deal with these two anymore.
Come on, kids, we need to play nice in the
I've already
sandbox.
reprimanded you once. Don't make me do it again.
Please ignore the council's interruptions. What do you have to tell us?
Good afternoon. I first want to say that I do not use any of the county general funding. So that's my start. The only change that I made to the budget is one area in my 4911 account, just moved some more money into my equipment fund for the Traffic Safety Partnership.
Where does that come from?
That fund is money that was derived from administrative fees from previous traffic safety grants. So it's used for...
Traffic fees? Traffic ticket fees, is that what you're saying?
Safe.
The
What?
Traffic safety.
Where does the money come from?
The administrative fees from the OPO and DUI grants from previous years.
Grants. Okay.
On this department, exactly what they do. You do?
Me? I'm
They used to use tobacco money. Do you
I only
get
see
tobacco
one
money
page.
anymore? Okay.
You what?
I only see one page, so I didn't see any explanation. So I'm just curious. Under professional services for 83,000, what do you usually do with that?
Okay, and if you want me to explain just a little bit about where the money comes from, that might help explain those categories. The countermeasure fees that are assessed, the $200, the fees that are collected through that, the county retains 75% of those funds. So we retain $175 out of the 200. With those fees that we receive, it goes back into the community for drug and alcohol prevention, treatment, and law enforcement grants that my council gives out to the community, the county agencies.
Who assesses that? I'm sorry.
It's the courts that assess those fees.
So $200 per person that's convicted of a drug offense? Okay.
Drug or alcohol offense, those fees are assessed. So you had mentioned the 86, did you say the 86,000?
83,692.
Okay.
Professional services.
Professional services. So that would be any grants that include, I'll give an example of treatment grants. So Proactive Resources does some programming at the juvenile center. So the professional services would pay for the therapist to do the treatment services there. Okay. So any professional service through treatment or law enforcement or any time that we have to or the grantee has to hire someone to provide the service, that would be the professional fee.
I mean, I don't have a total handle on what you're.
Sure. The county council itself, Council on Alcohol and Other Drugs, that's one piece. And then the other hat that I wear is the Traffic Safety Partnership. So we have the OPO and DUI grants under that. So I manage and coordinate those two grants. And then we also received the federal BJA grant for the opioid reduction. So we do the quick response teams, we do the home visits for opioid survivors, overdose survivors.
That's kind of your role.
Yes.
I apologize. I may be missing some pages.
He doesn't have them, so I'm passing over what he doesn't have.
The 28,000 in machinery, what is that?
Machinery and equipment would be any law enforcement equipment grant through the grants that I talked about. So if they need PBT tests or equipment or the tubes for the PBT testing, we don't fund any firearms or anything related to that, but anything that's related to the drug or alcohol testing would be feasible. I submit a comprehensive plan to the Criminal Justice Institute that explains what our data is for the county and what we are looking, our objectives, and then anytime someone that submits a grant application, we have to make sure that it adheres to our community plan. And I've got a 9-member board of directors that reviews those grants monthly. So we do a monthly review of those each for the 12 months.
Anybody else? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madonna, how about we talk about probation?
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
I adhered to the budget instructions.
Did what?
I adhered to the budget instructions.
You gotta speak, when that happens, you gotta speak louder.
But I did not have 3.9 million to give back, so I did not want to follow Jennifer.
Nobody wants to follow Jenny anymore, do they? Okay. Is there anything you need to tell us, Madonna, how's things going with probation?
We're running one of the best departments in the state of Indiana, and I thank all of you because the collaboration with everybody is awesome. When I go to other counties and meet with other chiefs of other departments and I hear awful stories, I'm very grateful that we all can collaborate and work well together, so.
How is your capability of hiring probation officers these days?
Well, knock on wood, I haven't had to since 2017.
Is that right? Wow, that is a lucky deal.
I'm going to lose one to retirement at the end of this year, so.
Okay, I didn't know, us kind of being in a full employment economy, what that how that affected you, but you haven't had to deal with it.
Not yet. We have a lot of resumes coming in all the time, though, and we are a well-sought county to work in.
You said a retirement, is that your assistant director?
No, one lady that has been with us for quite some time and was in Shelby County before she came to us, so.
But you have one vacant and you have a reduction in the salary.
That's been a long time ago. That just stays on the book that way.
What stays on the book then?
It just stays as a vacant assistant director position, but, I mean, he's still in the department, just not with that title.
So we can eliminate that position.
Yeah, I mean, it has been anyway, really. Can you take, yeah, I mean, it's.
Did he step down? Is that what it is?
Do we
Because
still count that as a?
It's 40,000 less, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, but it's been a couple of years ago. I mean, that's what I said, I mean, it stays on the books, but it's been that way for.
Because we haven't gotten into philosophy yet, but I know we've informally talked a little bit about vacant positions that stay open more than 6 months.
Well,
Them, so.
So the position, the position, the assistant director is vacant, but he stayed on as a line officer. So I haven't reduced a person, just a title.
It's
If you look, there's zeros.
Yeah.
not funded, right?
Right.
Right, but I'm saying the slot.
Yes, can
is
you
still
mark
there
it off?
Technically, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely, it can come off.
Okay, thank you.
I would come in and give you a whole reasons why I need to put it back, if I need to, but.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, anybody else have anything for Madonna?
Nope.
Thank you, Madonna.
Thank you all.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. Barry, let's talk about the health department.
Once a year.
I don't come very often.
That's right.
Under the radar.
There you go.
For the most part, 2, 3, and 4,000 series, I was within guidelines. I did add a little extra money in machinery and equipment. We need to replace some CPR mannequins, and they're expensive. We only have to do that about once every.
The dummies have wore out?
Yeah, the dummies wore out.
Okay.
Every 5 or 6 years, we have to replace them.
Write that down, Amy. The CPR dummy is wore
I
out.
have that documented,
Okay.
sir.
And in 1,000 series, I added some money to part-time. We live on our part-time people. So basically, it's enough to fund my part-time people up to the 27 and a half hours a week.
Okay.
And I had one person that I wanted to move to a Pat C, not a new not another person. I just want to reclassify him into a Pat C. Take over some supervisory and program management. So.
Okay.
Besides that, that's it. The other budgets are all grant funded. You see those now, but they're cigarette tax money and cigarette trust fund. For the other two.
Restaurant inspectors are sufficient?
That's what our part-time folks are for. Hopefully, I can get by with our part-time people for a while. We're running out of space. That's some point, we're going to need to start that discussion on space needs or flexing staff hours, desk sharing or something, because we're pretty much out of space. So.
I talked to somebody that does that part-time. It would be a stretch for you.
We're starting to, we're starting to investigate just because we have such good technology of being able to have people spend most of the time working out of the office, maybe starting at home, having a certain number of hours a week they report to the office, just because I just don't have that much physical space for people. And we're going to say with our technology, I can pretty much keep track of where they're at and what they're doing. So
What would be a good spot for you? I mean, you can't talk to you, because I was over there and I saw how packed you are.
Yeah.
You can't knock the walls down, you got the solar panels right now, right? Is that kind of?
That's true.
Okay, so the solar panels there, so you can't knock down and expand that building. Is there another space you could?
Well, if we can get rid of John over at the corners, I mean,
Knock that down.
That's probably the most likely thing to happen.
I would think
and
so.
we're great partners with the corner. So I mean, it's a good fit having us together. But when the corner was co-located with us 10 years ago, when we moved in, that took about 25% of my space. That was our 10 to 15 year growth. And when we moved in, we were pretty full right when we moved in. So we've
I saw
moved desks around and took walls down in the cubicle area, but besides that, we're exploring people working more remotely. I've never had people that worked full-time remotely, so I'm kind of investigating what it takes from a management standpoint to manage people you don't see. So I know people do it, we've never done it at the health department.
After talking to John, the corner next door, I think he's way over capacity himself.
Yeah.
You guys know about the Riverview? Is there putting next to the meat locker? I mean, is there an area down there somewhere?
Sensitive down here, thank
Meat
you.
locker.
Grandma's in there right now.
I mean, you could put the corner in Riverview, couldn't you? You could put them over there.
That's not our decision.
I'm not saying it's our decision. I'm just saying it's just a thought, right?
I'm just thinking about the space that he has. I don't see.
There is not,
additional space
I don't,
there?
I mean,
I was gonna say,
as far
what,
as,
there's
yeah,
none.
what the corner has now, probably half of his space we use for storage. I mean, he's pretty well packed in there.
Yeah, I would say,
What he has.
not a chance.
But we're in pretty good shape. I mean, as far as our equipment and our vehicles and technology, we're in real good shape. That's.
You got your new position here. Is any of this stuff you're doing now have anything to do with Fitness Plus now, breakouts?
Oh.
We are kind of in the throes of an unusual mosquito year. We've tested probably 4 times as many pools of mosquitoes than we ever have. So I'm devoting quite a bit more hours of people who don't normally work in mosquito control to help pick up traps. And we literally have to count the mosquitoes. When we trap them, we go through and count them by species. So it's a pretty labor-intensive thing. So we're somewhere around, we've trapped 30 or 40,000 mosquitoes, and normally we're about 8 or 10,000. And those are just in the traps. That's our sampling. We look for the disease-carrying mosquitoes. So it's been a crazy year.
But the full-time, is that kind of the full-time, this person, new classification, they going to do some more of that, or is it something?
Our biologist, I have a full-time biologist that works in mosquito control, then we hire a lot of college interns to come. Of course, it's terrible because we lose them like this week, and I really need them through August and September. When the disease-carrying mosquitoes ramp up, they go back to college. So it kind of hurts me with the labor pool that I can hire, that they go back to school, and so leaves us a little short-staffed. But besides that, you're talking about labor, it's really hard to hire nurses right now. We spent nearly a year trying to find the nurse that was funded last year. It took us a long time to find a nurse. I think our pay is competitive. It's just a real tough labor market. So, and once they get here and they find out about our work environment and our benefits and our insurance and our retirement, they tend to stay. But that's hard to sell people when you're looking just a $1 per hour basis, and they say, "Well, I can go to the hospital and make $4 more an hour."
Yeah.
But so we spent 9 months looking for a full-time nurse.
Well, I can understand that. They're coming right out of nursing school
Yeah.
with student loans.
Yep.
I got one myself.
Yep.
They'll all be paid.
Thank you, Barry.
Any other
Anybody
questions
got
for me?
anything, anybody else got anything, for Barry?
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Have soil and water, highway, and then communications obviously can't happen until tomorrow based on Jeff's schedule.
Soil and water, I see her walking.
Yeah, I think she's in the bathroom.
What's his schedule?
What?
What is his schedule? You're saying?
He's apparently in Indianapolis and can't be back here for,
We can do his budget without him.
I think, well, I mean, he has a request for a new person that I have a little bit of info about, but
Who's this?
that's Jeff. We're ready for you. Actually, I'm not in charge, sorry. Brad?
Yeah, Rick will say something.
I won't say a word.
We'll do soil and water with Ginger Davis.
I come bearing gifts, and I'm not trying to.
You're giving us
Just
money
happened
back?
to get them at the right time. So
Yeah, what is in there?
we have new plaque
Giving us
books.
money.
I wanted to-
Oh, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Very cool. One of those opportunities we use to raise money is those plat books. So those are available for purchase in our office.
Raising money is always a good idea.
Yeah, we do what we can.
Okay, now Ginger, did you stay within county guidelines?
So I did stay within county guidelines, except for in 2 locations. That would be the request for a full-time staff member.
Well, that was
and-
allowed under county
Okay,
guidelines.
and then the other one was an increase to our mileage budget, as we have seen an increase in service calls and that sort of thing. I did come to you guys last time and ask for an increase. We are going to be able to stay within that for this year, but I foresee it going up for future years. So I asked for a $500 increase in that category. But operating costs, that sort of thing, kept it exactly at what we had previously requested.
Okay. And I just want to make sure that you understand that Steve shared the propaganda, the pictures with us this morning.
So, yeah, and Buildings and Grounds is aware of that situation, so don't blame them for that action. It just was kind of fortuitous that it was growing at the time it was growing. So, yeah, and we've seen that in homeowners. I've had people tell me that that's an issue within their homes as well.
It's for the past year in my house. Right around wherever I have a tree, these got these little trees growing up.
Sure. Yeah, and some trees are more prone to that than others. The tree of heaven, which is an invasive one, which is the one seen in that photo, is notorious for that. It does grow by its root base, and it has a bit of a alanthic property to it, meaning that it won't allow other things to grow. So it grows, puts out these poisons so other things won't grow, and then takes over those spots too. And if you kill one, or try to kill one by cutting it down, it has a tendency to sap over where you cut, so you can't put poisons on it. It's almost immediate that it does that sealing of its own base, and then it'll put all that extra energy into shooting out shoots. So it's a notoriously bad one.
You can't spray that. Roundup won't kill that, right?
No, Roundup is not effective on tree of heaven. It does, you can do a foliar application, which is a application to the leaves of crossbow, which is, its official name is, yeah, I'm going to get stuck with the chemical name, but crossbow is one that does affect that one. And there's the other herbicides that you can go after it with. But yeah, Roundup, not very effective. Basil cutting to where you actually girdle the tree, which is just cutting the root, the veins within the tree off. That's a little bit more effective for a non-spraying technique.
Hey, anybody else got questions for
You
Ginger?
sent us a pretty long email on this thing. Is there?
We do.
Instead of just having a full-time employee?
Yeah, no, there has already been a meeting of gathering of the minds of those parties interested within the county to how to move forward. The biggest part they were asking for was that leadership component. There wasn't one person to kind of coordinate efforts. We also have plans to do on-the-ground call for volunteers and addressed some of the more larger tracts of lands, maybe public lands. We're still discussing how we would address those. So there is momentum already. There is plans. A lot of those formal plans will be discovered after the position is in place. But yeah, there's already a.
You're only asking $500 increase for transportation. Sure you don't need a pickup truck or a van or anything?
I mean, I didn't want to ask beyond, I want to keep our costs as minimum as possible. And we are able to use our own personal vehicles for a lot of these site visits because it's just going to a site visit. Maybe tools can just fit in the back seat. For the bigger site visits where we need more tools, we kind of dedicate the county vehicle to that operation. But yeah, and as things grow, maybe, but at this point, I didn't want to ask for beyond what seemed reasonable for our small department.
I didn't know if whether or not there's a waiting list or whatever. Dan, I don't know when we replace vehicles, whether or not they could get in line for a new vehicle because.
Yeah, our vehicle only has 30,000 miles on it. Now, it needs new tires already, only at 30,000, which we don't understand,
Right.
but.
Well, no, I meant, they're saying there's sometimes short of vehicles. That's what I'm saying. So I didn't know if there was a van
Secondary.
pool, car pool, something like that.
Pool vehicles out there, we might work something out.
Okay.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you. Yeah, I'll follow up on that.
I have one quick question, and you can advertise maybe a little bit for your department, the tree sale that's going on.
Yeah, so yeah, the tree sale coming up is going to be a native tree sale. So these are containerized plants, but they weren't grown in containers, which means they have a stronger root base. They're not root bound like typical container plants. They are fairly sizable. Typically, depending on the species of tree, they can be anywhere from about 4 feet to sometimes even 7, 8 with the sycamores because they are quick growing. We have a one-day pickup, so order forms are due in October, and then we have our tree pickup shortly thereafter. It's in the llama barn, so we have it all organized, ready to go. People can literally drive in. We put the trees in their vehicles, and they drive off. Very, very smooth operating and really beneficial. And the cost to these trees are a lot lower than you would get from other vendors. So it ends up saving our consumers quite a bit and putting in those natives, which is what we are recommending in a lot of our site visits. Now, we're not trying to compete, so that's why we only do it one day a year. We do recognize that we want to encourage native trees to go into our community, and we've been looking forward to maybe making some options for fundraising down the road. But it is an internal fundraiser for us so that we can continue providing conservation to our landowners.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Well, thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Plural. There's 3 of us up here.
All that are in the room, I'll put it that way.
I'm not sure we're gonna still be here at 3:30, are we?
Why?
Worked into the list.
Why wouldn't we just go ahead and get through? Highway will be here.
They will?
Yeah, I just emailed him again.
Okay.
Those last two.
The thing is if you get, the only thing I'm saying is if we get through and we look at like WIS and the reclassifications that are being requested, and then you wanted to look at, the new full-time people, if we have the time allotted for today, why wouldn't we go ahead and have it so that then she could give us an accurate number tomorrow and say, this is where you guys are within budget?
Okay, that's fine.
No, I'm just curious on the council's thought. I'm not
No.
trying to boss everybody around.
No, that's fine with me.
Okay, so I just made a statement, and if somebody else,
I can
I know, you just had, by 2 o'clock, you had to chime in,
I
didn't
had
you?
to.
So,
I'm fine with that. But you know, that's Brad, that's your call.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We can go as far. Land acquisition money? Okay, okay.
There's 8 million.
There you go. See, talk to Don, all of a sudden there's the cuts. My thinking is that we should take the vehicles money out of, what was it, Q cap?
Yeah.
Rather than cutting general. And, where's the fly swatter, Rick? I'm gonna need it. I don't think it'll reach that.
She's done a really good job being pretty quiet today.
And then you said $1.5 million was, double budgeted in county general for.
$1.6 million. I feel like,
Okay, we'll hold on that.
I mean, I think it would be important to, because that's one of the things I had on the list. I mean, if we wanted to look at those reclassifications, I mean, that's a lot, if you think about
Okay, well, you want to start at the list and go down and kind
it. I
of,
kind of feel like that might be the best way to look at it, but I don't,
okay. Well, Treasurer didn't have anything. Robin Ward didn't have anything. Clerk wants $1 million.
yeah, clear, 900,000 for the poll equipment or whatever.
Equipment.
Yeah.
Are we generally in agreement we're going to pay that?
I'm comfortable with that.
I'm good. The election, yeah.
Anybody, what happened to Fred? Did he get lost?
Probably.
Okay, we're going to pay that. Okay, we're not talking about full-time or part-time yet, are we?
I mean, I guess you could. If
Well-
you wanted to look at each department, because you just
Yeah,
gone through
yeah,
and said.
you're
these-
right. Okay, so then we get to, we might as well just go ahead and start the fighting right now.
On the commissioner's side?
No,
Which one?
I didn't see anything in county
Oh,
commissioners.
I was just thinking if you were talking about new people, but they had information, I mean, they had things on there, whether or not things that you wanted to talk about, like the attorney, and I know that there were people that talked about stuff like that. Is there any concerns with their budget, was my question.
Yeah, okay. Well, Fred was the biggest squawker, so let's come back to
Commissioners?
commissioners. And then, well, let's just hold till he comes back. Where you get into the,
Can we start like at the beginning of the?
You wanna start at the
That would
beginning?
Make it easier.
I'm going off the,
Yeah, it's off the schedule.
And that's,
I'm going off the schedule.
The revised one, right? Yeah, he's on that one.
Yeah,
Well, the revised one match the book?
I don't
Oh,
know.
crap, I don't know that. Did we not change? We might
Does
not
the
have changed
revised
it.
one match the book?
No.
It says tabs.
Well, right, but she didn't probably change, because we didn't change her books, because she didn't have our books. So you just want to go by the, just go by the book then.
What book?
The original one that you started with this morning.
Yes.
Not everybody has that sheet that
The revised, bud? I got the revised.
Well, here's the deal. The first one is treasurer. Number one is treasurer. So that's one we already said. There wasn't anything outside of, if you wanted to look at increases in personnel or on the WIS study. So were there concerns with the increases that were advertised?
Well, we hadn't got to salaries yet. That's a whole different,
But I think what she's trying to do, in effort to look at it all as a whole, is go by the book, no pun intended, in order to document effectively the total number. Is that right? That's what she's saying. If you went through and looked at the individual departments, since we've heard everybody.
I think what might be helpful if we discuss the WIS study first and the double funded positions, and then Dawn can explain the method to those individuals that were reclassified and how the salaries were determined and put on the pay grid. I think that would be beneficial for you guys. And then you could start through.
Okay.
we'll try that.
The budget. From an exec A to an exec D2. That also spread out, so the D1 and D2 spread out the amount, so there wasn't as big of an increase as what Plan 1A had. So that's the first thing that this budget was built on. So I guess the first question is, are you going to stay, adopt the pay scale that the budget was built on for everybody?
That is the big question, or do you go department by department? You know, that's the question.
No,
This is on the pay scale itself, and then you can make cuts in departments.
Like that, instead
Yeah,
of just
so-
saying, we
The
accept
pay-
the WIS study.
The pay scale moved everybody up one position.
The departments were given the option, so the pay scale, if you remember back when this was presented, I gave you a breakdown of the percentage of change for each classification. So they did the market analysis, they applied it to this, and that's what was applied to everybody. Departments were given the option of moving their people to the new scale at their existing level or moving them up one level. And so that's what was done on 98% of the
Had the option of, say that again,
they had the option of leaving the people leaving employees where they're currently classified and just applying the new market rate, or move them up one level.
and that market, and then they'd get the market rate at that level?
Yes.
And so everybody did that.
So the market changed, everybody did that.
And on an average, if we accepted that all the way across the board, the way the county, the way all the departments turned them in, can you give me an idea of what the average increase in salary would be?
Study was done. Was it the average 6? At the time that we discussed this, it didn't have the exact changes in there with the reclassifications, but it was at 6, but that's 10% advertised on the elected officials.
That includes 10%? Realistically, that's not happening. So it was, yeah, I see that. You want me to give you another signal?
No, that's okay.
Okay. 6% increase, average,
Yeah.
including the 10%.
Yeah, and with all the duplicates that I had to advertise in there till I
Oh, that
saw
includes the duplicates.
where you guys were,
So,
less.
so it could be considerably less
I mean, I would vote to adopt the WIS scale for 2020.
So we take, just an example of doing that. You're voting to take the treasurer from
I'm not
99
talking about elected
no,
office
not
holders.
elected
I'm
officials.
not talking about that.
There's just setting the scale for
I'm saying
each
the scale
position.
itself.
I could go with that.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve the 2020 WIS adopted pay scale.
Excluding elected officials.
Correct.
And that's,
they're
and
not
that's
on
the
the,
B.
they're not on the scale
Yeah,
anyway.
they're on the scaling.
And that's, what was presented was option B, right?
Yes. Correct.
So, what, sometime tomorrow you could tell us what that average increase would be by deleting the duplicate?
So you need a vote.
So who seconded that?
Fred?
Thank you, Fred.
Amy, did you?
I motioned, he seconded. Do we
Fred
need a
said-
vote?
Do we need a vote?
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
always do.
Okay.
We always do.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Okay, so Dawn's gonna run that because elected officials aren't in there, and then sometime tomorrow, she'll tell us what a percentage increase that is for the average.
Except you want to go,
So we're still going by
except,
department, not
because
by
we got to
department.
look at the reclassifications.
Yeah, the duplicates are the reclassifications.
Right, so we need to
you
look
have
at
to
that,
look
and
at.
that'll give that number. So that's where she wants to go by the book, if you will.
And the new positions.
Right, and the new
Because-
positions, to give you the actual.
Okay, so you want to discuss new positions?
Do you want to discuss elected office holder percentages, since you're doing days anyways?
I'm in favor of giving elected officials exactly what the rank and file,
No greater than the
no
rank.
greater than the rank and file county employee gets. That's why I'm interested in that number.
That number.
I'm thinking it's 3%, 4%, something like that. I'm just a guess off the top of my head.
So then, let's just go through, hold off on that and go through the departments so you can get a true number of what that percent, is that what you're saying? Because you'll have to, in order to determine what that true percent is, because she came back and said it was 6%, if you looked at the average with the duplicates and the 10% in there.
No, the 10% wasn't in, was it?
This one right here is 10%.
Right, so she's not gonna be able to give you that true number until we go and look at the reclassifications, ultimately that are the duplicates, in order to determine what the true percent is. As an average across the board. that make sense?
I'm not sure I wrote down every department that was asking for
Well, that's why she wants to go through the book.
Right, because it's in here. So
Yeah,
if you
so
just
she can tell you.
just start at tab 1,
That's the treasurer. And outside of the elected office holder, There's no reclassifications, there were no issues with her budget, correct? And there's no duplicates. Right?
The first reclassifications start in the commissioner's budget. And then that's also, so we moved the commissioners, department heads into the commissioner's budget. So as long as you guys are okay with that, then I will delete those elected or those department heads out of their normal budget.
That's all it was?
Why would you move, why would you move, are you saying department heads or elected officials?
Department heads.
Are in the commissioner's budget? Okay.
You moved, highway, engineer,
Chris Mertens.
Mertens, Steve Wood.
But other than that, there wasn't anything.
Yeah.
Well, we've got,
No, but there weren't like drastic reclassifications that are changing.
Yes,
Yes, there are.
Okay, then we need to.
Yes.
Yes. Let's take a break from that and go to highway, and then we'll come back to that. Yeah. Right. Such is life. Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for coming in early. Did you follow budget guidelines?
I did.
Good. Glad to hear
You told
that.
me I didn't, but I believe I did.
No, there's one answer.
Yes.
Okay. And are you asking for new people?
No.
Okay.
Outsourced repairs and maintenance is increased by $295, right? There's gotta be a line for that somewhere.
I don't think
Am I right, Brad?
Mike Roeder gave us any. Did he?
Apparently so, yes. I mean,
That's four.
That's based
All these other ones are subtractions, or
on.
they're related to a very specific
So they're asking
project.
for almost $1 million more.
Professional
Put less into
services
than
is up by $1.6 million.
the deficit.
Which fund are you looking at,
Yeah,
Fred?
this one right here says,
Yeah.
1176, no, and then fund 3001.
you're looking at fund,
Okay, just start with the first one. It says it's 0201, professional services. Then it goes down to 0201, fund 3500. Outsource repairs and maintenance, $295,000. The difference between
a lot of budget items got moved around a little bit because of the General Assembly's mandate that we have some of our money in restricted accounts. So we did some moving around on some various line items between 1176, 1176, 1173, and also 1169 fund. So there is some movement around in all those things. So a lot of those numbers may not be exactly apples to apples if you're looking at previous years.
Is there a way, Madam Auditor, we can figure out by tomorrow where the actual increases are? We do that instead of seeing where, like he's talking about. I mean, because if there's $295,000 on one line item, I think the council might want to just at least know what it is.
You're looking at 3,500
Yeah, there's a 3,500.
outsourced repairs and maintenance.
There's one here. When you go on to page. That's infrastructure on Cicero Creek. So that wouldn't really count, I think, right? I mean, that's part of that project. So there's one here that increases professional services.
All right.
That's 1.6 million.
Correct.
So those are the kind of two.
Those are the two you're questioning?
Well, they stick out.
Sure. And let me talk about 3,500 for a minute, the one you originally brought up. There is an increase in that, and that is because we have two locations where we need to do some erosion repair work at. So I put in $100,000 for that. couple of places. One's on Cherry Tree Road, around 165 block.
Yeah, it's falling off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we
So
got to do something about it.
One's for 100, right?
Right, and then the other one is up at, I think it's 256 and 6 Points Road, where we've got a creek that runs right along the road in an S-curve, and it's starting to erode into the side. So we need to probably do some gabions or some kind of a erosion control treatment up there. The other part of that line item is our drain assessments that we get sporadically, or not sporadically, but we get from our surveyor when they go out and do a reconstruction on the drain, and we get billed for the work they do in our right-of-way. We have to pay it, so that comes out of there as well. So that's the two main reasons why that has increased.
Okay, so what first, you thought it moved around at first, it must have just, you kind of looked at it.
Well, in general, we did move things around, yeah. Not knowing if that's the one specific line item that got moved.
Right, and you're kind of estimating what it's gonna cost, I mean, I've been in the
Right,
highway department.
yeah, we don't know yet. Right.
I noticed quite a few of the departments did the breakdown of vendors and purchases and all of that. Were there certain departments that just didn't do it? Or were not asked to do it?
No, everybody was asked to do it.
Is there a reason you didn't do your breakdown of vendors?
Thought we did break down vendors and send them in.
Okay, what's that in my
Or the,
book? So maybe you guys have it, and I don't have it.
No.
I don't have it either.
Brad, on page 2, while they're doing that, number 0807, 116th White River Bridge, $500,000. I'm just curious, what's that?
$116th and White River Bridge.
There is no bridge at 116th.
Rated Eller, between Eller and
Oh,
River Road?
116th, that's, I thought you said 216.
Yeah, I see a lot of subtractions and then.
Say you didn't get it, Robin?
I don't have it.
You do have that for us, Brad, you said?
The vendor list?
Uh-huh.
What were you asking for exactly? I thought we had sent in our vendor list for,
There was two requests. One was for the certificate of insurance.
right.
And then when the budget instructions went out, you know, they would do the list your vendors and the spend and.
Okay.
I just, like I said, I'd like to know, like, on this page, this next page, Fund 1176, 3001 question, there's 1.6 million there increase.
All right.
But if you'll notice, 3,500, it's like it was a flip-flop. So in line item 3,500 and 3,001, one's increased and one's decreased.
Yeah, I see, that's where I'm talking about too. Is there, where does he, can we figure out where he has increases that we're not seeing? We found the one here, the 295, he has an explanation for that.
Summary sheet.
So like, you can look at.
Did my question about that bridge get lost?
I remembered it.
Which
$500,000
line were you looking at,
for 116th
Rick?
Street.
116th and the White River Bridge.
What page is that on?
Page 2 towards the bottom.
1138, you're in, I thought we were in 1176.
Fred, Fund 1176 actually decreased $184,300.
Subtraction right above it. I mean, this worksheet out of all of them is,
It's hard because it's by project. So it's not clean like the others.
yeah, I can barely decipher this stuff.
But I mean, if we had a breakdown, I mean, if we had an explanation, you know, how we have had.
It's 2391 Cume Cap Development.
Yeah, I see it now. I believe that's a rehab and joint work that we can call Ally and make sure and verify.
Oh, okay.
Scope of work, yeah. Because it's too low to replace, and I'm pretty sure it's a maintenance preservation project.
And Dawn, Robert, Mike Reuter had mentioned that vehicle was not keeping up with what they had projected. Remember that? He said there wasn't enough in it.
Revenue was down.
Going to look at that. Did you hear back yet?
No, he's not got back.
Brad, the money that the state was gonna give you and it's even less?
No, I've not heard that. I've seen several projections on that, and the one the State Board of Accounts put out actually looked at a past, like a 3-year history, which took into account prior to the new money coming in, so it was artificially low. And then Mike had his projection, and he gave us around budget time, which is about 7.3 or 4 million. So, you know, it's hard to say. I've not heard recently that it's been lower than anticipated. Not be surprised.
Brad, would you be able to verify and get me that list of your spends as far as with each vendor?
I can. I'm not
It
sure
was just
still
a-
I know what you're wanting. So is it on the?
It was a part of
It's
budget
in the budget
instructions.
instructions.
We got a breakdown from most of these departments.
Jim, I'm sorry. Could you speak a little louder? I'm sorry.
Ally said that we were anticipating doing approach work, an overlay of the bridge deck, and work on the joints as well. It's currently still in design, so that's a rough initial estimate.
Rough idea. Okay, thank you, thank you.
I think back, Fred, to your other question about 3001. That has included in that some various professional services. Most of are from most recent federal awards. So, for example, the Belford Bridge project, the engineering is in that one. The 236th Street Federal Aid Award is in that one. We didn't break those down into separate line items when we did the budget. Kind of wrapped into the one big group.
Here's and I've been there, I know what you guys are doing, and it's a difficult one. You got, it's not as straightforward, you got a bunch of grants coming in, you got 90-10, you got 80-20, I get it. I'm just trying to, I'd like to see.
That's one reason why that's higher, is because
Yeah,
those are in there.
I get your thing here, and there's a lot of different things, and then I go here and there's a bridge, major bridge fund, you're breaking it down, what you're doing for each project, for each bridge, and then the street, you got 146 in Allisonville. So I'm looking at that. You know, we'd like to see something in the future. Overall breakdown, vendors, maybe for the year before, then, you know, it doesn't have to be exact for the next year, what you're gonna spend. You know what I mean? Overall breakdown of the budget. This one's a very difficult one.
Yeah,
so
one year to the next isn't the same thing. So.
I would say.
I get that.
I would say that it's almost.
Projections, or whatever?
I don't even care about projections, I just wanted you to follow budget instructions.
I would see a lot of help with just understanding project by project, what it is. This is what we spend on design, this is what we spend on construction, and just understanding what that is. And just, I mean, it's, we have the total number, but what does that include? And I think, and including on that, how much money we got in grants. So you can kind of get a full feel of what's being built in 2020.
Yeah, this one I can't, you know, I feel very comfortable. Not making heads or tails of what we're.
How do you feel it could best be described for this group? Present information about how the projects, what the costs are, and what they're being spent on. I mean, you read this and it makes sense to you, but
yeah,
what would be a good, from your perspective, what do you think would be in the best you could present that would help us understand what you already know?
Well, we could break down the known projects into their different phases and then highlight the ones we're trying to fund for the 2020 year, if that would be felt. When it's in 3001, that is a professional service, so to me, that means that's engineering services and that kind of thing. You know, it's clear to me what it is.
Right, and I think when we were asking, when you're looking at that as an example of a past project, if you spent you know, with XYZ company on design, then engineering, or whatever that may be, we're looking to break that down. So I think in some of the documents that we've had from other departments, they did a very good job, whether lengthy or not, breaking down each line item or series. And so I think in the future, and I'm not necessarily saying you have the time to do that now, but breaking it down would be beneficial. Because if it makes sense to you, I mean, you see this every day.
This is really different because it's project-based, and maybe that's something that we can like work with them through our highway department, Rick, our meetings, and kind of say, what is the best way to document this going forward, and that way we can all be on the same page as far as something that makes sense to
Yeah,
us.
and come up with something that we all agree upon, because, some of the times it is difficult too, because you're sitting there, you're putting money out, or putting out bids for this project, and you might not know if that grant's coming in. And then a year later, this money comes back to reimburse you.
Not only that, but you also have projects that last a year and a half, 2 years,
Right.
and so where are you on that?
Yeah, but I mean, I think we could do something.
Because it is probably the most complex when it comes down to it.
Well, we got Brad here.
A little different method of presenting the budget.
But I think Amy, to your point, you're still looking for the vendor, just a printout of what we spend on vendors.
What we spent on vendors in 2018.
Yeah.
By name.
Are we bogging down here? Where are we at?
We're on highway department.
Yeah, I know that. What decisions have you made?
I think we haven't made any decisions.
I think we're bogging down.
We have a couple.
Are you asking for any new people, Brad? So basically, it'll be how much money are we giving to highway department? A dollar amount, and they'll spend it any way they want to. That's the way it's gonna go, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a way you can quickly get us of things that are already contracted moving forward for costs that have to be spent? Like you have grant money that we know we have to spend on X projects moving forward, and then these are all the other projects that we want to do. Does that make sense? So I see two things. One, things that we are obligated to do moving forward because of the federal grant dollars, and then the wants. Does that make sense, Steve?
Yeah, I'm just thinking how many projects he's got that are 3 and 4 years old that are still on the books. I mean, we just cleaned up that 1176 issue, and that was from how many years ago?
A typical federal aid job is 5 years in duration at the best.
Well, no, but I'm saying that becomes part of we have to do. So we have to fund it. So what are we putting in with the wants?
You're talking about shelf-ready projects?
No, I'm talking about stuff that's already in the process of being built, designed, whatever, and it's in process. We have to move forward with those because that's where, and then you have, these are the wants, the maintenance, things like that, and I think that's kind of the number we say we have to find a number that we're going to give to them, and that's the one that's variable. It's not the other one. The other one has to move forward.
Well, something is also different, and I need to ask Dawn and Robin. Last year, we had projects in here, and this year, this now is totally personnel. The highway special, the lit. And this is the fund where Mike says we should cut $955,473.
Talking about
What
cutting
happened?
1176.
Huh?
1176.
Last year,
No.
we went to 4907.
It's this
Because
account, Robin. This
It's
account
not-
here.
It's not the lit.
The highway
Which
special
account?
is what he said.
I'll have to call him because it was the 1176 fund.
0703 is highway special. Where's 1176? Is that another number that would be?
That's 0702. I'll have to call and ask him.
No, I'm just.
Yeah, no, I mean, I will have to call and ask him, right?
I'm just trying to look at it because I don't know if Brad had different instructions because this had projects in it and now it only has personnel.
And that was on purpose.
And we
worked
did
on
that
last year.
intentionally, Rick, because the General Assembly, if you remember when they instituted the gasoline tax additional revenue to go to local governments, they imposed a mandate that 50% of that had to be spent on certain activities. It was so difficult to try to sort out from our own manpower what we do, how to sort out the costs associated with what they do into this restricted group and this non-restricted group. That working with Robin, we did the brilliant move, and we moved all the salaries over out of that fund so we don't have to explain it to them what we do. And we moved project stuff back into 1176, which then we can break apart into what is restricted and meets their definition and what doesn't. And that's why you have an 1173 sub-fund out of 1176. This is a restricted amount that should meet their 50% requirement that they're mandated. But by moving our salaries and structures over to the other fund is a tremendous help to both Robin and us in trying to figure out how to account for what our maintenance people do on a day-to-day basis, because they could do one activity one day and those costs wouldn't count, another activity another day and they would count. And it was very difficult to figure out how are you going to sort out how much benefits do you assign to them for that one day, and are you going to have two different payrolls, or how are you going to do all that? The easy thing to do is what we did.
Okay, and I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying, historically, highway special or highway lit was always the projects.
It used to be.
Okay,
And he
that's all.
just explained why we switched that out.
Right.
And I agree, I'm not deaf.
What, no.
And I'm not dumb. I'm just saying that it's not evident here that that's what happened.
Yeah.
So it's good to have this conversation.
And in Mike's cover letter,
I'm not arguing with you, and
oh, but you're the auditor. That's why we're directing the questions to you. In Mike's cover letter, he pointed out where a cut may come, and it is called special lit.
You did say that.
But that's not on his plan.
It's the cover letter to
I
the.
know, but I'm telling you, it's not on the plan. So
Are we gonna have to give Mike Reuter a deduction?
We'll have to ask him, because on the highway fund 0702, it's short $1,443,000. In 0703, he has fine.
So I wrote down when he was in here, there was a cut of 3.9 million. This is not off his letter, this is him speaking. So I just want to make sure, so is that accurate or not? He said you have the potential cut, because we were talking about the 8 million we were over. There was 1.6 in duplicates, 1.4 in vehicles, 3.9 in highway. He talked about then the $3 million assumption for May of 2020 special distribution. I'm just going off of the notes that I have here, so.
So the $3 million cut, did he talk about that out of CCD?
Maybe that's.
It's $955,473 because we traditionally gave 3 million into lit. To me, that was
That's the 3.9
my
that he was
understanding, both
speaking
from
of.
lunch on
That makes
Friday
sense.
and what he covered today. And that's maybe part of the confusion, is that some of these changes have happened and terminology is still not that familiar, so. I'm just trying to get us all on the same page.
So he's, Brad's not asking for additional personnel. We'll wait to get confirmation from Reuter where any cut in the highway budget might take place. Obviously, it's not gonna be out of special lit, because that's all personnel, right? We at least agree on that.
Yeah.
So we'll have the auditor's office reconfirm where he might think that.
So generally each year you fund, we move $3.5 million of lit when it comes in to the highway lit fund. Or
4907.
Or 3 million. And he's saying that 955, that's assuming you want to fund his total ask at that 3,955,000, so the extra 955.
So you're saying no reduction has been identified?
Fund that, then that reduces the amount of lit that goes into county general by that amount.
Yeah, on his cover letter, it says it's based on the assumption the county will direct the dollars that she has mentioned of local, of lit, to the highway lit fund.
Which is an increase of what they normally do.
Right.
There's no cut, he's just saying, if you want, if you're gonna meet their expectations, you've got to fund this out of that lit.
Yeah,
Or we,
fine, which is an increase over last year, which Rick is saying is all personnel.
They've switched it because of what the General Assembly changed and to make it more streamlined and not have more record keeping of personnel. I understand. But again, it's a big change from what we've done in the past. Again, we don't work with it every day like Brad and Robin does, so.
So, the question becomes,
Where do we
are we,
cut?
are we gonna give them an increase of $900,000 in special lit? Which is what's called for, right? What they budgeted for, which is $900,000 more than went into that fund last year.
We got more than 3 million last year. And you got to remember that special lit is really wages.
What?
I'm sorry?
Special lit is really wages, the 4907, special highway.
That sentence means nothing to me. Okay, so we need instruction from Reuter on that particular fund. Anything else in highway that anybody
She's
wants?
got a vendor.
I just would like to see
The
the
vendor
vendor
list.
breakdown.
Vendor breakdown, how much?
Vendor names and how much they spend.
We also need to know from Mike about the discrepancy on the gas tax.
And I think the ongoing discussion is how to present a budget and that type of thing, but that's not gonna happen today.
Right. We need to.
action item for our subcommittee.
We need to find a spot to determine what our questions are for highway, because they're in front of us right now. And if there isn't any more questions, we'll have to get answers. They're gonna get the list of vendors and how much they spent. We'll get a confirmation from Reuter, and then move on with the county budget.
One final comment. I did realize when I did this that the MVH fund bottom line was more than whatever projected revenues we want to believe. I was trying to beef up our paving program due to the past winter we had and the pothole issues and all that. So really that was all going into paving, contractual paving, that additional money. Hoping that we can counter that by continuing to be successful with community crossings program to help fund that, but I can't count on that in 2020 at this point. But that's why that is over projected revenues, because I wanted to put it into paving contracts to beef up our roadway surface.
Okay.
Is that where the gas tax comes from?
Yes, all of MVH is the gas tax revenue.
Because Mike was saying we were getting less.
Less
Then we're getting more.
less than I'm saying I budgeted more
budgeted
than what they
Oh,
projected.
okay. Right.
Depending on who you want to believe, whoever's projection you want to believe.
Right.
I budgeted more than what either one of those were, thinking we would go and just use cash down a little bit to help improve our paving program.
Can I ask
Okay.
can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just randomly. The roundabout at 146, or I guess it'd be Oleo and Southeastern, is that gonna be addressed? It's like one of the most dangerous in the county, from what I've been told. And
Well, there's a lot of crashes there, and
Right.
actually.
Because the signage indicates one thing and people do another.
Well, people do whatever they want.
Right, but the signage actually probably should be done better. I just live there, so I see it all the time. So people think that they can go in the outside lanes and they're not supposed to. So I didn't know if we were gonna do anything to prevent more of that. And they're literally wearing down I just was curious, because I know you'd mentioned it in the past, if it was something that was gonna be looked at.
Didn't really look at that, and I think our signage is appropriate the way it is now. 'Cause we recently have looked at that, so.
Sorry, I had also asked, so I thought I'd ask while you're here.
The town of Fishers applied for a federal project to address some of those issues. They were awarded some money to do that. Their solution, and I can't tell you exactly what it is, I have seen it, but it includes adding some additional lanes, and reconfiguring some of the lanes
Okay.
to that roundabout.
Got it.
But again, that's a federal aid project, so it's 5 years out. In the meantime, we do continually look at how it's marked and how it's signed to see if there's something wrong there, but I don't think there's anything wrong there right now.
I think the problem is that you don't have signage that shows that the right lane is a turn lane for each exit, right? So people don't realize there is one if you're coming across Southeastern to go right towards the gas stations off of Olio. But the two that would be the issue would be basically Southeastern, then veering into, there's that hospital, because it's kind of a five-way. It's kind of a weird five-way thing. So the hospital, then directly off of Olio, and then what would turn into Southeastern. So it's those, there's three. It's not necessarily the north traffic, sorry.
I think she's signing up for the highway department committee.
No, I mean, sorry, if I'm bothering you, Steve, I do apologize, but it is a question that was brought to me. You're
No,
looking at me like it's, sorry, you know what, we'll have this conversation offline, how's that? Since
I can't tell you.
I think we need to see the design and see what they've put on paper, and we can do that later.
And we are, I think I heard you say something about striping being worn down.
Yeah.
We have put out to our contractor the notice to proceed to go ahead and start working on that. That just went out like a week and a half ago. But yeah, there is stuff going on,
Awesome.
short-term and long-term.
You still have jurisdiction over that versus the city?
It's kind of been a joint thing. We've kind of tried to address it jointly.
Hospital really close. Two, that's right.
Are there any more questions for Highway Department? You're gonna get us the list, right? The vendor list, how much?
Yes.
Okay.
Get
Thank
that.
you.
I apologize. I guess I didn't see it in the.
All right.
My fault, so I apologize for that.
With that, we can assume, ask the auditor to put in a call to Reuters to clarify if he had any suggestions at all for highway. If not, we'll assume that we're going to adopt their budget as presented. Would that be a correct statement, Don and Robin? Because I can't, it's not clear to me that he's suggesting anything in the cover letter or anyplace else. I don't see him. He mentions to us if we give 3.9 million, that will reduce county general. But that's all he's saying. If you give him 3.9 as opposed to what you give him last year, it will reduce county general. But he's not making any, I don't read it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I don't read it as any suggestion that we do anything, just kind of a notice, hey, if you give them this much money, it's going to reduce county general. Is anybody, Rick, are you reading it any differently than that?
No, mine was that we were in the 3 million to 3.5 historically, and if we would drop down to that level, then we would be good.
So if you look at that, because we were sitting here, so if you look at the plan for 2 years straight, it was $3 million. So then what he's saying is, they budgeted 3.9, but like you said, Rick, all of the salaries are moved to there for the apparent reasons with the restricted and non-restricted and the other funds. So I said, one of the other things that you could do is, so he's saying to look at that as a department, so you can put all that highway lit money, with the exception of pay projects out there, because it takes on the, so like if you moved all of that into county general, you couldn't do road projects
Right.
still, because it takes on
Yeah.
property tax.
It touches property tax.
But if you wanted, you could set highway up in the county general fund and move all of the salaries, and then that $3 million, it would all just go to county general. You see what I'm saying? Since it's truly just funded salaries, you could move the highway department in with the salaries and put all of that in the county general, and then you wouldn't have that fund, with the exception of, if you wanted to keep it for, like I said, if you had paving or whatever, then you would still, then you would divert only that amount to this, to the 4907. So like you said, right now, if you look at that and you fund the 3.9, you're funding it all, but if you fund the 3 million, then you're gonna have to cut $955,000 out of the highway special fund.
And the highway special fund is all personnel.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
So,
I'd leave it as it is.
okay, does that mean we're gonna look for $900,000 someplace else in highway? That's the question in my mind. If we gotta leave this alone, because it's all personnel, and last year we funded 3 million into this fund, but the rules have changed in a year.
So in that case, you're either gonna move the 3.9 of lit money there, or you would cut it, and then the 900,000 would come out of their cash balance.
Okay.
Is what you would do.
Not like the perpetuation fund, is it?
So I just have a
So at the end of 19, he's projecting $1,050,000. So then we would cut into that.
Does that include earmarks for projects that'll need to be paid for?
How do we, if we can only move the personnel costs, how do we effectively reduce the budget of projects? That's what I was heard, right?
There are other funds that fund highway
Yeah,
department.
I get that. That's what I'm saying. But if that's what we're here to discuss, that's what I know. I mean, personnel is what it is, but with these projects is where the money is.
Yeah.
So how are we defining which projects we need to move forward with and which we are not? Because
We
that's,
don't define it by projects, we
We let
define
them-
it by dollar amount.
I know, I get that, but what I'm suggesting, and this is why I asked before, how much money are we already committed to? There's some of these projects we have committed to moving forward with, and we have to move forward with them, and some of them we have not.
I think we,
That's, we
yeah,
let them decide, because
but I see
what we
what
do is we give a
Ken's
dollar
saying.
amount.
Well, I know, but there's two numbers there, and the one number is the only variable that we can really
Right.
change, and that's why I'm saying let's define what are the ones that we are not committed to already.
We let them decide.
I understand that, but what is that?
They've
total?
already
We
decided
don't
on
know.
ones that are in the works right
But
now.
but I can't look at this sheet and say which ones are committed and which ones are not committed.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you're looking through there. You're like,
Does that make sense?
If you were to commit to one, that is a committed budget item. If we haven't committed, you could pull that out until a later date.
I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just saying that is, I don't know how we can cut money if we don't know what we already 100% already committed to and what we are not.
I'm not either. I'm
What
just
you're
saying-
already 100% committed to, that's going to execute in 2020.
Yep.
They know
Because
what
there
they're
are-
committed to.
Yeah, they
And
know.
we let them do it.
They know what.
I'm not changing. I'm not saying that or not. What I'm saying is, how do we identify if we're going to be able to cut budget? How do we cut a budget if we don't know what the uncommitted projects are? So we don't know what that total number is. If we were to cut more than we are committed to, then we are effectively underfunding projects that we have to move forward with, and that's why I'm.
Not necessarily, because then they come back and say, we're short $500,000 next January, next February.
And we go for so you
Go
want,
for an extra,
Well, I mean, if that's what we want to do, that's fine. I just would like to understand where these projects fall.
I say that the things, you're putting money out there that isn't necessarily needed. I mean, that might be good right now, but is that gonna be good down the road? I mean, I disagree with that.
You
know what I
disagree
mean?
with what?
You're saying that just let them decide, just put a big lump sum out there.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not saying that?
No, I'm saying cut. Like we say, 955,000 is over what we usually have done, and we let them cut it rather than what we've done years and years ago. We would target X project, 116th and White River, $500,000 gone. And then when they have time to do it or they get the contract, they come back and ask.
all right.
That's what I'm
Yeah, I
saying.
could, yeah.
I think
okay.
there's similarities to what you
Yeah,
both are
you
saying.
guys
You're
are
just
kinda-
trying to determine what the total number is that's already committed to.
Yeah, that's
And-
all I
and
want.
that is
Yeah,
what
you guys,
ultimately is
there's not too
budgeted.
much difference in what you're saying.
Nothing, no, there isn't at all, actually. But you can't really tell, I mean, yes.
Yeah, that's better than having a list of projects and you don't know where they're at. You're just flipping through all these pages. That's a much better approach to me. So,
I don't
Okay.
disagree with
Okay, at this point, we have no firm cut for highway. We'll leave it alone till the end of the budget cycle and,
Go back to it.
and go back to it and see if Mike has any suggestion other than what he's already given us. Which is no suggestion as I read it right now. So, highway department's special lit went up $900,000 from last year. But the fact that it's committed to personnel leaves us no capability to take it back to what it was the previous year. That's not correct?
That is correct. So about 3.9 million, 3.7 of that is personal services. And then he has 10,000 in supplies and 228,000 in other services.
In that category? Okay. Okay. Let's end discussion on highway matters. Okay? Don or Robin, make a call to Reuter and see if he has a suggestion of any type of cut for highway in general, being as whatever. And if you don't, that's fine. That's what I'm going to that's what I'm personally going to operate on. There has been no suggestion. And if it's overlooked or he has something else, when and if you get a hold of him, we'll take it back up, okay? Okay.
Said communications is coming in at 3:30?
I had an email that said he would be here. I had emailed him before lunch, asking him if he could be here by 3 or 3:30, and he said he can be here.
I know he's on his way because he was involved in an accident in the parking lot as he was leaving. But it was a very minor accident, so he should be here before long.
Okay, so let us jump back to what we were previously discussing with the highway, which was department by department reclassification, right? Now, let me make sure I understand exactly what reclassification means to us as far as dollars are concerned. Why do we need to know department, how is that affect, you've got it double budgeted, right? So if you say, okay, we're going to pay it out of one or the other, does that answer the question?
You have to decide if you're going to accept, if you're going to approve the reclassification, because that person is in there with the reclassification amount, and they're in there as their current classification.
There could be a change in pay, number one.
So if we
right?
made
Right,
made a
that's the biggest
decision,
thing.
if we made a decision, we're going to accept all reclassifications,
Then we'll cut $1.6 million and move on.
anybody have a feeling about all the reclassification, or do you want to go?
Well, did they all go through
Department-
personnel?
Personnel's been kind of hit and miss.
I just didn't know, because reclassifications typically go through personnel, right?
It was part of the WIS study,
Right?
and those reclassifications were a result of that. They looked at all of the exec.
No, I know that, but did
classifications.
personnel go through and review those?
Each individual, no, I don't believe so. Not anything I participate in.
Let me ask you a question real quick. You said that they put certain department heads in the commissioner's budget. So when I looked at highway, you didn't see Brad's salary wasn't listed in highway.
Both.
It's involved.
So what I'm asking the council in whole, do you want to adopt the reclassifications as one big lump, or do you want to go through each individual department and look at the reclassification and make a decision on each one of them, department by department?
I feel comfortable with doing it alone.
What we did on that, we followed the formula guideline that has kind of been our standard operating procedure. based on that new classification and the new pay grade, we applied that.
You applied the form to all of them?
Yes.
That's, okay.
That, Byron, that's the planning one that's coming.
That will be double dipping if
That's
we
for
do that.
planning. No, if they,
No, we need to apply
the formula.
the formula to it because that was not done.
Created, right?
So with that,
I'm
not
comfortable
wanting
if
to
they're
talk
doing the
anybody.
formula.
I'm not wanting to talk anybody out of anything, but I'm making a motion that we accept all reclassifications and not go department by department. They've already been through the study.
I'll second.
We need a second. Are you seconding, Amy?
Okay, discussion. Now, if we run across one that looks a little, we could always just modify that one. I mean, if it makes comfortable doing that. We see the department like, wait a minute, this one's a little bit out of whack. We could say motion to,
Up until we close business tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay?
So Brad, you move to accept all reclassifications?
Yes.
And are you going to include, settles to be figured?
Planning one
Same
at the,
planning one?
Can I do that because they haven't technically asked for it yet? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's kind of, it's.
Because they're coming
the
for a mid-year
timing-
increase.
The timing is difficult.
Because they're coming for a mid-year increase, then that would affect 2020.
yes,
Let's
you have
deal
to
with,
do it.
let's deal with it in September.
Okay.
Just do nothing with it now, and we'll deal with it in September. That way we'll know what his mid-year increase and then what his new salary would be with the reclassification. Okay? Everybody okay with that?
Who's gonna keep
Track of what?
how that individual progresses through the system, so that we don't let it slip through the cracks?
Get a double bump.
Thank you.
Okay? Amy and Fred, are you okay with the reclassification?
I think I'm just trying to get through something here.
Just making sure that certain increases that look substantial, that are not related to elected office holders, maybe get looked at. And he's just questioning whether or not it's a reclassification or not, and I'm stating that this one specific that he's asking about is not a part of a reclassification.
Classification of elected official.
No.
We're not
What
talking about
I'm
elected-
saying,
Oh,
he was
it's not
asking a
department head. I'm
question,
department head.
I know there's no he was asking about a specific number that looks pretty high.
Well, you can review that, and if you come up with something before the end of business tomorrow, we'll look at it again.
And we can just look, and if we spot it as we're going through.
Yep.
Department by department tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay, then I'm good.
Okay, everybody okay with that? Ken? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So what did that do? That lopped off 1.6? Okay. Let's stop with that. Not yet. I mean, we haven't crossed that bridge. We're gonna stop where we're at now and pick up communications.
Let's figure out, can somebody get a text? See if he's coming.
He's right there.
here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I never knew the guy, I'm sorry.
I'll text him.
He should answer pretty quick.
It's late in the day for us.
I can imagine.
3 o'clock. What time do you guys normally work till? Sorry.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm pleased to bring before you my first budget as the Executive Director of Hamilton County Public Safety Communications for 2020. We followed the rules from the Auditor's Office. We held no increases in the 2s, 3s, and 4s. Personnel costs were based on the benefits increases. I'm open to any questions if you have any.
We appreciate you following budget guidelines.
Can I get you to speak into the microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I don't have any questions.
Overall, how are things going for you out there?
It's going very well. We're losing some employees to different jobs, but we're having some internal transfers as well.
Well, you know, the budget director, or not budget director, the communication director we've had in the past used to give us a number of 20% turnover in that department every year. Is that holding
It's
up?
nationwide. Everybody's battling that, and nobody's been able to identify one thing that slows it down. We're taking steps to speed up our hiring process, our training process to get that turnaround time shortened.
Yeah.
And we're also looking at ways to recruit from outside by going to jobs fair, making the public a little bit more aware of what we do.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your work. Is there anything you want to tell us? Like I said, we appreciate you following budget guidelines, makes our job easier.
I know you have a busy day today and tomorrow, so
Okay.
I won't take any more of your time.
Okay, all right. Anybody else have anything? Okay, thank you for making that.
Sorry about your little fender bender.
Yeah,
We appreciate you getting here.
Was that a county car?
Yes.
Okay. You'll want to go through the proper protocol for that.
And I am, matter of fact, when I leave here, I'm heading to get estimates, so.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay, that finishes the department heads that we had on the schedule for today, didn't it?
And
tomorrow, except for the not-for-profits at 10 a.m.
Okay, we have time and
I would love to go through it. if we-
Amy has energy left. You want to go through the new hires?
I'd love to, but can we take like a 10-minute break?
How many breaks a day do you take, young lady?
Hey, I work about 14 hours. So,
Oh, okay. And where are you going tomorrow?
London.
Okay. Yeah, let's take a break. We'll come back and talk about new full-time employees that may or may not
In order by book.
Yeah, so we're going by order by book, right?
Right.
Boss? Isn't that right? By
Yeah,
your book.
we're going to go by the big book.
Yes.
Right, in order.
Okay, got it. Making sure I understand.
For what? What are we talking?
Anything that they have pending.
Full-time employees.
Full-time employees, yeah.
And the first one will be community corrections on tab 7, right?
No, that would not be first.
No, that's wrong.
Which one would be?
It will be tab 6,
Aviation was good.
tab 10, I'm sorry.
Community correct, no, they didn't correct, you're right, okay, he didn't ask for anything wrong.
Well, but hold on, here's my question though. So are you looking at this as a whole though? Wouldn't you look at the clerk first because she had a request for additional money?
Well, I thought we would do full-time employees and skip the
Got
budget
it.
part of it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, so tab 10.
Tab 10, and what we're looking there is 2 full-time employees for YAP.
It's 3. 3 part-time to the full-time positions. Full-time.
3 full-time?
Yeah.
3 part-time to 3 full-time.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
I'm not supporting
Okay.
it, I mean, but that's.
Oh.
You know, I just have one little thing before we get started on discussion.
3 full-time employees.
1 for Fishers, Westfield, and 1 for Cromwell.
In all fairness, before we vote, we are missing 1 council member,
Who's that? Okay.
and we are ahead of schedule. I just hate to jump ahead with one missing and not having the ability to.
We don't even know when he's gonna be back.
I have not talked to him.
Right, and the man's in the hospital, we don't know when he's gonna be back, so we potentially won't be able to do this tomorrow either, so it's a next year's budget item.
But in all fairness, do you think we ought to give him a call? I mean, in all fairness, because this is the largest project we do of the year.
I think it'd be fair to give him a call.
We've jumped ahead is the only
But-
reason I'm saying that.
Yeah, okay, we've jumped ahead, what, couple hours?
No, a day.
Well,
Here's the thing, these only are secured for 1 year. I'm to those of you that are looking at it negatively, based on the interlocals, they are only secured for as long as funding would stay in place.
okay,
I understand, but you know, in my thoughts, if it were anybody here, in all fairness, I think I would,
I don't think.
I don't know that it's gonna change a vote, but.
And I wouldn't expect it
No,
to.
this is my opinion, but I
No,
would.
and Steve, it's very, very nice. I mean, I remember when Belton would miss, whether it was for camp or whatever, we never delayed a vote for him. But do you want to take 5 minutes and go call it and we'll wait? And then we'll talk about something else?
At least I think we should, and I will go do that.
Yeah. You wanna go-
I don't know if I need 5 minutes.
Okay.
Is everybody good with that?
give him a call.
Okay.
I'll give him a call.
We can at least talk about positions. So we got the 3.
Look.
Let's just identify.
First
how
off,
about
there's
let's
a
identify.
motion on the table.
What?
Let's just identify all the positions that we know.
There's 2 positions, either you're gonna vote for 3 full-time
Yeah,
employees.
there's a motion and a second on this one already, so we're just waiting.
We're in discussion.
Yeah, we're in
We're in
discussion.
discussion.
We're really, Ken, either you're gonna vote for 3 full-time people for YAP or not. I'm not.
I'm not either.
So,
And I don't see why we're waiting on him unless, honestly, you probably think that vote's going your way. I get that. But, you know what I mean? I don't see why we do that just because of that. That's just,
I think if you look at the historical data and the thing you're trying to quantify, which I did send you, Rick, specifically, and I showed you, Fred, that there has been a reduction in cases since inception of youth assistance now. You could attest that to other things if you wanted to as well. I think it's a beneficial program. I think we've done a good job. I'd like to see it continue on a larger scale, especially just under the climate of whether it's mental health, this mentoring. I mean, there's a multitude of things. So I think everybody obviously knows where I stand.
right, that's what we're gonna vote on, so.
It's
If you were
just.
passionate about something, I would respect allowing you to speak. And so
I didn't interrupt you.
no, but the way in which you said it was a little.
Dismissive, but that's
Yes.
okay. Hey, guys, let's we get it. You know what? We're all passionate about this. That's fine. You know, Amy, you know how I feel about this, and I will say that when when they started taking data on it, the poverty level was at 3% in Hamilton County. It's now up to 6% of kids that are in schools are taking school lunches when you look at all the 4 big cities. And yet, the children that are going to this program, that's who this is helping. And on top of it, and then on top of it, you're seeing, even though we have this expansive growth, and we just heard from HSC that they've gone in 20 years from, what was it, 4,000 to 22,000 kids. And, and that's just one school district. We would be doing a disservice to our community if we are not helping the at-risk youth in as much as we possibly can in the best county in the state.
And some of those aren't even at risk. I mean,
Okay.
it comes down to.
That's all I'm suggesting is that I think that is something that we have to define whether or not we're going to be leading as they change this youth assistant program and take it statewide. Do we want to be the model that people are looking to achieve, or are we going to follow someone else?
Okay.
Yeah, just to give you an update, I'm not getting an answer. Just so you guys know, I would call any of you on that, and we've done, I think, our due diligence. So I'm good with moving on.
All right. So, Amy has advocated for it. Ken has advocated for it. I would say this about that. My experience with the YAP program to this point is disorganized and can't get its paperwork to us in a timely fashion. And even today, she was coming in wanting to bring part of the contracts.
That was asked because she asked to combine them.
Wait a minute.
It was asked to be combined.
Please let me finish my thought before you chime in. So, it started as a program, and we were going to help them pay for some benefits and whatnot like that. And now it's getting to the place where it's growing and growing, and the county needs to take on these full-time employees. Who's in charge of these employees? This is never clear to me as who's running the program. Who do we hold? I'm not for adding 3 full-time employees. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I think it might be a good program, but my big issue with it is we got this list for not-for-profits, and this one, I feel like and I think it's great that so many political people are in it, but I feel like that's why it's being advocated for so much on such a large scale. I mean, we're not giving health care benefits to any of these other not-for-profits or growing or put them on the county goal. And the big thing is, and like I said, I've been to the program, I've been to the things, I like what Tricia's doing, I like the program. This is, I have the same thing for my favorite ones on the list, but you're basically turning this thing into a brand new county department now. That's what you're doing.
So I do have one item. So are we going to prepare to take an official vote here on this?
Yeah, we're in discussion, then we're going to vote.
Okay. Chris, did you end up with a summary?
I'm going to need to do a little bit more work on that. I don't know how these people are going to be. They're going to be employed by. I mean,
You have it prepared for tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I can have a good answer for you.
I think, Brad, to your point earlier, I think you're right. I think it is disorganized, but I think that has been done because of the interlocals and the fact that we are splitting up leadership between the cities and the county. And to your point, who's at charge? Do we want to take charge of this? And I think that's really the question, right? If we are going to take charge of it, then we need to staff it appropriately.
And then, and then looking at the numbers, instead of 576,000, it'd be 987, it'd be $1 million if we're in charge of the entire program. And that, eliminates, quote, the contributions from the cities.
Yeah, I'm
The
not.
budget is 987,000.
If we approved their.
Because because we're the pass-through, that's where all the money comes
Right,
from.
but the money.
I'm not suggesting that we're not going to be getting money from these folks.
Right, and I don't think I think we've always been in this position where we've been the pass-through, yes. But the contributions are coming back to us based on what's allocated from the different cities. The only thing is that like those interlocal state, it says that at any point in time, we, or those municipalities, will say, we don't have the funding to fund it, and you can make the decision on whether or not you want to keep the program going.
Amy, and
Right?
I would add on to that and say, and the idea is that maybe we have 3 communities that really want to, and the other ones are just like, whatever. We have the ability to pull out of those communities and just focus on the ones that are participating with us. And I think that we have, by doing this, we actually get more control over the direction of that, and we can probably demand a little bit more from a reporting mechanism out of Trish.
Well, here's
over oversight.
Here's the thing about it too, is that we kind of helped them get started because there was some political people involved, and else it wouldn't have made it to us in the first place. We helped them get started, and then many of the communities did a pretty good job of fundraising at their own local level, to support their people. Overwhelming support, there would be overwhelming fundraising if all these schools, if the individual school system felt like it was really a big benefit to them, they would be funding the thing to the tune, rather than us funding it, rather than the county funding these full-time.
Hasn't it been kind of their focus to fund the programming aspects of what they're doing on the site? That's kind of, if I understand right, that's the mission of what the city's involvements are.
Yeah, that's kind of, I don't want to. Yeah, they're asking us to provide leadership. No, what they're asking for is full-time employees. That's what they're asking for. Call it leadership, you can call it whatever you want to. It's full-time, fully benefited employees.
My uncomfortableness, again, is, and I'll just say, I look at it as a social welfare program, and I almost think it should be under the schools entirely, because identifying at-risk kids, the way they do it, the formula, the mechanism, protocol, whatever you want to call it, is too loosey-goosey. It's not formal. There's nothing regimented that says boom, boom, boom.
My understanding is because it's children and through the judicial, that it has to be under their purview, and that is to protect the children, and that's why it exists there.
Correct.
I would say that maybe that's how they want to choose to define it, but I don't see big brothers, big sisters, being that way. And I look at it really similar to that, where, you do this mentoring and you're taking kids to a Pacers game.
No, but no, it's not mentoring specific. It's not specific to mentoring. I mean, there's a huge difference as far as, they're working alongside the families, identifying, critical concerns. Go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but perfect example is, I've gone and I've participated with 2 different of the Noblesville. And what they do is, for instance, if they have a youth that comes late to school consistently, then that triggers that youth assistance person to start to bring them in and do a follow-up with the parents. A lot of times when they do that, that identifies issues on the home front, which brings the whole package together. That's just one way that they do that.
I could see that too as being a trigger, because
there's a lot of that should be the schools entirely. That shouldn't involve anybody with the judicial system.
But they're also identifying people whose parents are in that program and saying these are at risk, and that's why that's involved.
Okay, so let me just say this, so we don't go too far. The way I'm viewing it right now, if I called for the vote, which is the next thing in our agenda, it's going to be a 3-3, so it dies for lack of a majority.
It stays the way it is.
So it stays the way it is. Anybody find that different than what I'm seeing it?
No, because we're going to convince you otherwise.
No, you're too new, Ken. No.
Sorry, I just bring some levity.
No, you're doing good though at rebuttal everything they say. I'm sitting here watching. I'm like,
what you waiting?
I don't need it.
Did you get to hold mine?
Is there any value in adding any people from a part-time to a full-time?
Oh, there's probably.
If they can't do 3, or would you do 2?
No.
One.
This is
No.
This is a philosophical.
Yeah,
it really is.
It is a philosophical
That's exactly
question.
what it is.
Can you throw us a bone?
They'll be back. You and I both know.
All in favor?
I just don't know why it's.
Because I think it's
We're going down the
done
line.
substantial.
Going down the line, I'm a no.
Amy?
100% yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it's 3-3, there's no action.
Okay,
I'll
that's
make
not
a
true
motion
then.
for 2.
Second.
I don't know, we gotta do percentages now, I'm a 100% no, so.
Amy?
Yes.
Rick?
No.
No.
I'll make the motion for 1.
Second.
Fred?
No.
Amy?
Yes.
Rick?
No.
Brad, no. Steve? Okay, there was not a quorum, so there is no action there.
Not a quorum, a majority.
Majority, I'm sorry, majority.
Did Ollie request anything?
No, no. The next one I see is emergency management. Does everybody agree to that? Is that the next one that's asking for a full-time employee?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Well, I don't need a motion. I mean, okay, yeah, that'll work. So the motion is to transfer a part-time to a full-time for emergency management.
That is my motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we've got a second?
Yes, I did it.
Fred?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. 5-1. That's one new full-time employee. Let me write that down. 1. Okay, the next one, Extension is asking, do we care, are we just gonna let them hire part-time people? Or do you
I don't
wanna-
know, can
you
youth
wanna vote
assistants
on
hire
it?
more part-time people?
Not really. Do you wanna vote on part-time people? Okay. Extension wants a part-time. We got a motion? I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Fred?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
You
Rick?
said extension?
Extension.
Yeah, they asked for a part-time.
I'll vote yes.
Yes.
Okay, that passes, that's one part-time. Okay, the next one I got is, you guys catch me if I'm missing somebody, is sheriff? Is that correct? Yeah, CO position for the sheriff, that'd be full-time. I'll make a motion for that.
Second.
Yeah.
Steve seconds. Fred?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Yes.
Rick's a yes. I'm a yes.
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Okay, that's unanimous. There's another full-time. Soil and water. I thought we adopted all reclassifications.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that'll work.
That'll work.
Okay. Soil and water wants to convert a part-time to a full-time.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'm gonna second that one.
Okay, it's been
Based
moved,
on everything I've seen.
moved
so.
and seconded. Fred?
Yes.
Yes.
Rick?
No.
I'm a no.
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
There you go. Invasive species, here you come. That's
Better get
another,
that tree chopped in the office.
another full-time, full-time employee for soil and water. Mark it down on Fred's.
I am definitely.
Okay.
That's on there right now.
We've got you in
Can
our
I make a
sights.
motion for a part-time person for youth assistance?
Second.
They didn't request
I
part-time
know.
person.
I
No,
am.
they gotta make a request.
No,
Why?
they
No, they
don't.
don't.
No, they do not. No, they do not.
Yeah, they do. It has to originate with them. Absolutely. It absolutely.
Robin's shaking your head now.
Yes, it does.
That does.
Yeah, it does.
Council attorney, can you
You can't,
verify?
we can't add stuff to people's budget requests.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it falls within, yeah, it's actually under what was, it was
We have an
under-
attorney here I think could probably help us out with
Years
this.
ago, we had Barry, had a restaurant person, he had to send us a letter because,
Yeah, but I asked for, if you remember on nonprofits, I asked for Meals on Wheels.
and I said it was wrong, we shouldn't have done it, and you went ahed and did it. But we shouldn't originate it.
But
State
it falls,
Board of Accounts
it
says no.
falls under, it
No, they
falls
don't.
under the
I checked-
advertisement.
I've checked with them.
It doesn't.
Call Tammy White.
Can we just have our,
I don't know of any rule that says you have to have.
It's our internal rule.
so what is the legal opinion for our,
The legal opinion was they don't have to request
They don't
it.
have to
Somebody
request.
make a motion.
we already
You did.
did.
I
Any
have the second.
Okay. Part-time person for YAP. Fred?
No, but I mean, you're getting there, you're getting me close, but I'm gonna go with.
Amy.
You can't do a quarter time person.
Amy? Amy?
Yes.
Rick?
No.
I'll say yes.
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 That passes, they get another part-time person.
Ooh, YP?
Yeah.
So we got that one?
I
Okay.
did.
God, now these guys can calm
Okay,
down.
What was it?
I'd like to make,
Ken made the motion.
4-2.
Amy
You
seconded.
the motion, but then who was against it?
I was.
and
Rick and Fred.
Thank you, Brad.
Rick and Fred. Okay, we got that.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. On, the surveyor wants 2 new full-time employees, one out of, what was it, Perpetual Drain, or Cornerstone Perpetual, one out of general fund,
Which, where we at? I'm sorry, Brad.
surveyor.
Page 2.
I'm
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'm going, okay, is that for both?
Yes.
No.
Wait a minute, I need a
We need a
second.
second.
Oh, okay.
Second.
Okay,
No.
Amy,
No.
Rick,
No.
Brad, no.
Yes.
Steve, yes.
No.
Okay, that failed.
I'll make a motion for the engineer position. He told me that's the one he prefers.
Seconded.
That, wait a minute, wait.
So that's out of county general.
Correct.
You've already made the motion. I prefer to pay for it out of Cornerstone Perpetuation, which is not general fund, but you've already made.
I can
you amend your
I
motion?
can amend my motion to be paid out of Cornerstone perpetuation.
But he won't take
Then he'll get nothing.
There.
Why won't he take that?
that. Because he said, you're right, it has to be specific to that job, and that job is not the one that the perpetuation cornerstone.
Okay, so then I
Is what he
go
told me.
back to my original motion, which was to come out of county general for the engineer position.
Okay, is there a second for that?
I think, yeah.
Okay, Fred?
No.
Yes.
Amy?
No.
No?
Yes.
That fails for lack of a quorum.
Majority.
Or lack of majority.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we grant him 1 full-time employee out of Cornerstone Perpetuation.
Second.
Fred?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, what about you?
Yes.
So if he can use the body out of Cornerstone, he can do it. If he can't, he'll go without.
That's more than fair.
Could use an existing employee funded out of that. potentially.
And remember, the one thing was, somebody was getting deployed, I don't know where, he might have to readjust his. Yeah, okay.
The engineer.
That was just a position
I-
at Cornerstone.
Yeah, well, a position out
But he
of
can
Cornerstone.
flip things
I
if
want
need be.
I want to deviate a little bit here. Do you guys want, I know I think we're at the end of full-time positions.
We had parks.
No, we got parks.
I'm sorry.
Communications. There was?
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a
He'd like,
accreditation
yeah,
PR
presentation
person.
/ PIO.
Okay, I'm sorry. We have one for parks.
And you also have the 4 part-time and 2 full-time increases.
Oh,
So
I
guess
didn't,
I'm
I didn't,
separate,
I didn't
sorry.
flip the page. I'm sorry. One full-time person for parks.
Al says that his preference
Two
is
full-time.
for the
Yeah, sure it is.
because in the past, he has skipped the naturalist and gone with maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
He really needs them both. The 20-hour limit on part-time person makes it very problematic trying to get people during the summer.
How do we push to do what we were talking about earlier?
I'm leave it to the department. If he wants a naturalist and let the buildings
I
fall
think
down.
what he's going for is, I think is these building maintenance and things of that nature, I think that we need to be looking at how we
I
are
think
doing
sooner
that.
rather than later. I would like, because that would determine a lot.
I'm not going to support adding people that are doing the same function in different departments. If they're maintenance people, we should be using maintenance people under one group.
And there's that. I'd like to do what we were talking about earlier as far as really getting a report on buildings.
Okay.
So the motion,
Okay.
I make the motion for the naturalist position for Al.
Okay, that's a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Fred?
No.
Rick? I'm a no.
Yes.
That passes. That's one for parks. What would you say, what'd you say the next one was? Communications? He was asking for a person?
Accreditation. So basically.
Is that new?
It would be a new position. It's looking to do accreditation and then basically like public information. So they would do things with like Smart 911. There would be some like schools on, basically utilization of 911. They'd also do it. It's a half and half position.
Okay. so
Grant
that-
funded?
Oh, it's county general.
Has it been moved and seconded?
No, it hadn't. We need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve for discussion.
Hey, anybody else for this? Because I'm kind of on the, I just want to hear people's perspective on this besides what Brad just said. Anybody else?
Well, if the lit goes through, then all that will be away from county general.
Yeah, I'm thinking, well, we can vote on it. I'm thinking in just a few months, we'll know whether that's, but we're here, we're gonna vote. Now,
Have we identified where we're going to be saving money across the board for that money, where that could be spent?
We don't know yet because the executive board will decide
Yeah.
where to spend the money.
And you're not allowed to be on the executive board.
That's all.
Don't you remember that last year?
That did it.
Okay, do we have a motion and a second for communications?
You've got it. You're ready to vote.
Fred, Amy. Gonna tell your kids about 911?
I agree with the accreditation. I'll say yes.
Okay. Rick?
Yes.
I'm a no. Steve?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that passes. There's another full-time, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new full-time employees as of right now?
That's what it looks like. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 full-time and 1 part-time, or 2 part-time and 4 full. That's what we have.
But we only
No,
pay
we have
8% of
6.
communications right now.
EMA, sheriff, surveyor,
Surveyor.
Parks.
Soil and water. Park and soil and water.
and communications.
We just passed
So 6 and then 2 part-time.
Okay, so it is.
Okay. All right, who else was asking?
I think they weren't asking for full-time. There was just adjustments on the prosecutor on 4 of his part-time people.
Yeah, well, that's budget,
Okay.
budgetary. I just want to make sure.
I just took notes of what was.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we got full-time, part-time. Anybody else asking for part-time? Okay, 6 full-time and 2 part-time is what we just added to the county payroll.
Who was the other part-time?
Yeah.
And extension. Right?
Let me do it.
Okay.
Well,
Groovy.
do we
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do we have to approve part-time positions? I thought that.
What?
I thought people added part-time people as they needed in their part-time budget.
They can come to you if they have 2 and they want 3, they can come back to you for that 3rd position.
But if you're a county council member, you just make it up
They're
out of
increasing
thin
their
air.
budget to accommodate.
You know what?
Well, then, let me make the motion then that Al had asked for the 2 full-time. We gave him the 1 full-time. Can we go the other one for part-time, that he can pay out of his part-time? What do you look like? I just stole your lunch money.
I'm not all that much in favor of council member advocating.
On extension's request for part-time, they're increasing their budget. So that's, I assume that's why you voted on that part-time position, because it required an increase in their budget.
Their part-time budget got increased?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So he can go ahead and hire the person without having to go through all this other rigmarole.
As long as he's got the, yeah,
Okay, good, okay. So I withdraw any
You withdraw?
motion then.
labor, but
Yeah.
We have a few minutes before we hit 4 o'clock. Can we go over a couple other things?
Would you like me to report on this?
Yes, do you have a report?
I do.
I'm ready for your report.
Okay. Okay, here we hear me. So,
Get in front of a microphone.
I will. I'm headed that way.
Do we need blindfolds on, Robin?
No.
We don't need these?
No,
blindfolds
we don't,
on?
we don't need those.
Okay.
So I talked to Mike, and after our meeting on Friday with finance, Dawn and I went back, and we found that, was it, how many, 1 point something million, or 2.4 million, when we got to talking about what it was a transfer, it wasn't an additional. So after Mike made those adjustments, we don't have any cuts that need to be made to the 1176 fund. And he did find out that the conservative $6 million figure for MVH and local road and street was too conservative, so that's over 7 million now instead of 6. So he's adjusted that. So you don't have any cuts to make in highway.
Good.
Now, I did ask him about the highway lit money, and he does not see a problem of basically rescinding that fund, moving that to county general, and then doing the salaries out of county general. So highway would actually become a department for their salaries. And he doesn't see a problem with that. And if you guys would like, between now and when next you meet, I can call DLGF to make sure that that doesn't make any differences.
You mean between now and September?
Yes.
Not next time we meet,
Not
which will be
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Right, correct.
That's fine. Does everybody understand what?
And Mike said as far as he knows, that won't make any difference, or you would have to cut any more if we just moved all of that highway lit money. Now, the one thing you would have to decide, and I would assume you talked to Brad Davis, if there's a cash balance there that's not relevant to where we're at, if you guys would want to leave that there until that money was expended, because that's where you always got to remember, when you move that lit money into county general, you can't take it back out, and it then becomes driven by the property tax rules for counties as far as road projects.
Okay, so to sum it all down, we don't need to do anything with the highway department's budget
Correct.
in our efforts to get within
Correct,
balanced
and
budget.
the revenue is better than he first
Good.
anticipated.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. Dawn, I was kind of reviewing your cheat sheet you gave me earlier. I think you gave it to a few individuals, but I didn't see any of your stuff in here that had to do with the highway department. Remember this one?
Right.
There wasn't anything I'm overlooking, is there?
I had that their
Sorry.
CCD requests were $863,000 over last year, and Major Bridge was 2.5 million over last year's request.
But we have the money in Major Bridge.
Yep.
And what about CCD? Is there money in?
Yeah, CCD was fine.
And then they're
Is that,
about $3 million.
do I find that unusual that highway would be asking for money out of CCD?
That's where you fund their bridges.
Cume Cap?
We moved the bridges to Cume
We're gonna reestablish Major
And then
Bridge.
you guys will have to,
Okay.
we're gonna discuss the reestablishment.
Yeah,
of Major
okay. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
I said yes.
Okay. Let me go over a couple more things before we check out for today. I'm gonna make a motion, or did we? I'm gonna make a motion that we, give the almost $1 million to the clerk for,
No, we did not vote on
We have
that.
not.
for the, voting machine request.
I'm
I
gonna
didn't
stop.
think we were, well, I mean,
Well, I mean,
it's
we've
part of
already
our
said,
budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know we had to specifically.
No, I'm just, you know.
You're just trying to get
was-
that prepared for tomorrow. Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah.
Well, basically, he's saying, I mean, we have a few minutes to
Yeah.
finish certain things,
Just to
right?
make sure that we're all,
Come
because
on,
her
board.
budget was within,
Fine.
except for the,
The poll
election
books and the
related.
election.
I'm gonna second that to approve that.
okay, so Fred,
And I'm gonna vote for that 100% too.
Fred,
I'm a yes.
okay.
Yes.
Rick,
At 100%, yes.
okay, thank you.
Why do we gotta do
I'm
percentages?
yes, you're yes, I'm sorry, you're yes? Okay, so that's unanimous, we're gonna go with that.
There,
And
95.
one other thing I just had, I'm gonna clear up my notes here. How do we feel about an additional $95,000, I think, coming out of county general to go to the surveyor's drain fund? Was that coming out of county general? Giving 95,
Out of
What
general.
was the purpose? What was?
well, there was no, I mean, it's.
My understanding
it's
is
just-
that it's not necessarily something that is imminent per se this year. Next year, there will be definite needs for improvements.
But I mean,
But I-
Dan, do you know what it is?
It's the. It's general
General
drain
drain, but,
improvements.
so that's outside the regulated drains? Does anybody
Ken,
have?
do you have any?
But I think he's asking for more money too, because the cost of dredging and doing things like that has probably gone up, and so he's looking for additional monies to support his program. I would just suggest that he says that he's got to still maintain all these things, but I know the cities take on a lot of it.
I know there's many regulated drains that have funds attached to them, and there's lots of, so obviously it must.
I'd rather see the project and have that come as act as a
I guess
special.
I'll make a motion that we cut that and ask him to come back and tell us specifically.
Yep, I second that.
In an additional appropriation when he's ready to do the project.
I second that.
I'm sorry, can you tell us, I was talking.
He's asking.
You were doing what?
He asked you to cut the 95,000 from the surveyor's request and request that when he needs it.
Yeah, he comes for an
back
additional.
for an additional.
Because it'll be coming out of county general.
95 when needed.
Yeah, that's a motion. I need a second.
I seconded.
Ken seconds it. Fred?
I'm with you. I support that
Yes.
motion.
Amy?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
That's yes. How about you?
Yes.
Yes.
Unanimous, so
And who made the motion?
I did.
Before we move to
Yeah.
the next, on the sheriff's, he had requested 500,000 for laptops.
That's in his budget.
He has that within his
It
budget.
is in the budget. Yeah.
Yep.
And
And then it was
you're cutting the 100,000
every year from now on.
transfer until we
Until-
find out what happens
yeah,
with the peace
Right,
outlet.
which
Okay.
might go into a sinking fund. That is all I wish to accomplish today. Is there anybody got anything else they want to accomplish today before we break and? 1
Vehicles?
No, but I'll make a motion if that helps you. I'll vote to spend, and we want that out
In the lane,
of
so it'd be the
cume
vehicles
cap,
in the
right?
lane. So to cut the 1.4 out of county general and the 5 million out of county general.
Yeah, I want the vehicles to come out of cume cap, so I'll make the motion to cut it out of county general, and 1.5 was for what?
So the 1.4 was the vehicles and the 5 million was the land asset.
5 million was land. I'm making a motion to cut 1.4 out of county general, and it'll be paid for out of CCD, and 5 million that the auditor puts in there in the council's budget for land acquisition.
Second.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Rick?
Well, actually, I'm sorry, Brad, 100% yes.
Thank you. That's a better vote. I vote yes. What about Steve?
I think that means more, right?
Yeah, it does. It counts for a vote and a
Well, I
half.
don't know if maybe I don't have to.
You
But I'll
you
vote
only
yes.
have, you only have a half a vote
That's
now.
apparently.
Because you're at the end of the line.
I expect that. I'm the junior member, right?
Does any of the council have anything else they want to add today?
I feel like, was there not discussion from the commissioner's budget that was outstanding that, I thought we had started a discussion, maybe we didn't, or maybe we didn't.
We went to Fred right away on that, and he kind of had a lockup situation, couldn't find anything, so.
Okay.
I'll let him think about it
Are there
overnight.
any other outstanding things, Robin or Don, that were large expenditures that we missed?
We talked about if we needed, we could cut also out of the group insurance because it was
Right.
adequately funded.
Sometime, are you going to spend some time after you get here tomorrow at your regular time, not early, to give us a running count of where we're
We
at?
got some, not,
Okay. I didn't want you to go into,
I got a quick question outside, and I'm the chief assistants. Does anybody know, since we got some of these mayors involved with it, why they're not funding these employees out of the city budgets? Does anybody know that?
Their funding, I mean, basically, it's because it originated within the courts, if I'm not mistaken, with Judge Nation, and now it's under Casati, and we had Tricia. Basically, there is funding coming in from a reimbursement perspective on some of those. So it's not that they're not. The cities are giving financial contributions to
This
us.
is a major expenditure, major bump for us. I mean, we didn't, we didn't
no,
see
it got
that.
voted down. It's not that major.
But you know what I'm saying? I mean, that was
Yeah.
a pretty big request to come up to
Request,
us
yeah.
for. So I'm just kind of curious why we didn't see anything from the cities.
But see, that's the whole thing. Can you verify, when you talk about what that request was? Because my understanding was it was just the increase on the 3 people from a part-time to full-time salary position along with the insurance. And then the $5,000 on the travel expense, which is down to mileage. So when they're talking about this massive increase from 600 to 900, what am I missing on that? That would.
Philosophically, I'll sit here and just say that we have voted in, or we have moved forward with an executive leadership bump of $900,000 in staff costs, and that will never go away. And we have a youth assistance group that is actually probably has, is impacting, and we all know it is, maybe not to this degree that I do, Rick, but that's looking for additional funds to better serve this community. It just, with the things that have happened here just recently, this is going to have this. I'm not trying to be political, but this is going to be something that people are going to be coming and asking why. There's a lot of people that are involved in this.
Oh,
I guess,
we've had that.
I think my question is that were those salaries, was it really an offset between those part-time dollars and full-time along with benefits in the number of 300 and some odd thousand? Because I thought it was in the range more of like 144. And maybe that's because ultimately what's not looked at is that I know you have to allocate the benefits as family, right? Or you have to allocate the benefits whether or not they take them or not, as far as on just the insurance, not perf and all of those things. But some of those, just so everybody knows, were not going to be used. So as a note of reference, I know it looked like a big expenditure, but the actual cost would have been much lower than what you saw.
Yeah,
So I'm not trying to.
I'm not even addressing you, but what you said though, a lot of people are involved with this. I mean, I think that sums up why this thing is as far as it is. Because I identify other programs that are much more important to me. And I've seen that directly serve the county, but because this one has this political person, they put this ball over here, and you know what I mean?
I don't think it's necessarily political, and I understand where you're going, but at the same time, when we talk about mental health and kids and that being a huge scourge across the country, and this program has been identified not only locally, but the governor and everyone in the state saying, yes, this is actually helping improve those issues, and we're not funding it maybe to the level. And I'm not suggesting, maybe we're doing the right amount. But the idea is that if this is a need, I really look and say, we are committing, cities, you need to commit as well, and you need to be sending your money in. If you're not, we're pulling out of the program. And maybe if we can get the commitment from those cities and those interlocals, then we're in a better position.
Yeah, financially, especially.
Two things. Let me throw something in here real quick. Al has texted me, and he's very appreciative and wants to thank everybody for their support. But Ken, and I know, part of his philosophy back on the YAP, and when I see it, that they reach kids from 3 to 17, I have a real problem with, how they identify people at risk, thinking of a 3-year-old and then a 17-year-old. And like Steve, I sat in on a couple interview sessions, whatever, with Trish, and it was over in Fishers. And the situation to me, and I know it's not every single one, but to me, it all boiled down to the parents, and whether it was a kid staying out late at night and, oh my gosh, we might, have this involvement, this problem. It was a father or a mother not keeping track of their kids.
Well, I would, and I'm not disagreeing with it. I think that is probably a major issue, and the idea is, and again, it's a philosophical decision. Are you going to invest in something that you think might have an impact and save us money as a county long term because we don't put someone in the criminal justice center? Just one person going in that justice center pays for this, right?
Right, but I'm saying that we don't need government involved. That's what I'm saying. Whether we don't need a person from the court system having to mediate between a mother and a father on how they discipline their kid. I'm just saying. And, I've had people say, well, I saw Johnny walking down the street by himself and, quote, he looked depressed, so I called YAP. I mean, and, I've heard from mayors that have said, this type of thing, and I'm just scratching my head and I'm like, we're getting way too involved in people's private lives,
But that's no different than when people see somebody walking down the street and they call 911. I mean.
No, I understand what you're saying, Rick. I think there is is that something that the government should be involved with? And I think it's a philosophical decision.
I could actually be a little bit more malleable if the people that are out there pushing this, because I see these mayors, I see all these people doing it, but then this one right here, they come up and say that right there, that's a big thing to come up to the county government and say that, because when I first started looking at this thing, It was, oh, you just give us this, it's self-funded. The only thing that's going through you guys are just a pass-through. That's when I first started on council. Then it went to, we had a huge discussion about giving them county healthcare benefits, and that was all they were gonna ask for. And now all of a
We
sudden.
did that for Heights.
Okay,
We did
let me
it for-
finish, please. And now we're at full-time employees. You know what I mean? So it's basically turned into a county department, and that's what worries me.
But don't
And
you
I
also-
honestly,
times
I would
have
tell
changed,
you,
guys.
I would tell you that I think it's probably something that deserves that type of attention.
I agree.
Okay.
Times have changed.
But it's a
lot.
philosophical decision, and we're not going to solve it with a 3-3 vote.
Okay,
Well, it's not gonna
that's all we're gonna accomplish today. Can we leave our stuff in here?
So, it's 8:30 tomorrow?
8:30 tomorrow, and we'll just leave the non-for-profits where they're scheduled, come in, do some work, and then we'll talk to them and finish up with our budget.
Thank you for putting all this together.
Oh, all of those books, that's